Hey guys, Tarke here, and welcome to episode number 55. This is the first Baeclast since Delirium League started last week. We'll start off with what's everyone been up to, what builds have you been playing. Raiz, what have you been up to? What have you been playing recently?
I started with Essence Drain because I was going to do the level 100 race. And I love Essence Drain, but I fucking hate Trickster. I don't know what it is about Trickster. I guess it's the reason why like block is so strong and everything now, because everything is just like a lot of smaller hits, more so than what it used to be. That's why like armor is also better. You know, I'm sure Molten Shell doesn't have anything to do with that, but yeah, I didn't like it, so I died on purpose, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I yoinked Noogie's build and also Waggles, and then Onus as well. And I like metamorphed it into this like fucking Archmage Hierophant thing, and it was really cool. I love it. I love brands and the whole playstyle with like Archmage mana bouncing. I love that. I love that shit. But then I died, and then I died again. Huh.
Oh.
What do you know?
So what are you playing now then?
I'm playing brands again, but this time Armageddon brand with Archmage, and I'm trying to level 80 to equip my Stormfire so I can ignite. But it's been a nightmare. I hate Storm brand. I hate the what's the name of that ring? I just said it and I already forgot. Stormfire. Yeah, I hate the fact that it's level 80. I wish they would like it's an opal, so I guess it has to be. But if it was like level 40, it would be so much nicer. Because every build I find myself that because it's such a unique thing to build around, leading up to it, all those builds suck. So it takes forever. And then I'm bored. By the time I reach 80, I'm already bored of the build. So it's like...
If you don't know, chat, that's the your lightning damage can ignite one. I've had that a few times. Yes. I played a couple of the Arc Ignite builds, and you're just like, can't wait for my build to start working. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. It's like level 80 is a pretty, you know... It doesn't feel like a lot until it's necessary, and then
you play a bad build. It's worse.
I mean, well, the thing is, like, I could have just leveled with Stormbrand because it's literally the exact same build. Like, it's identical. Yeah. So I could have just done Archmage and Stormbrand, but I was like, let me see if Armageddon brand is good. I haven't played it after the nerfs. You know, let's see if Ignite works. And no, fucking absolutely not. Like, none of it works, like, at all. It's so bad. Maybe if you have a Tabula, it would be better, but I'm running around with a 5-leg. It's rather rough.
How bad is
I'm
the
like
delay
a level
damage?
and a half away.
Is the delay on it bad?
It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't understand why... well, we're already starting with the theme of complaining. But with Armageddon brand specifically, when they nerfed it, I didn't really understand it because there is a downside to it. It used to be that there was a delay, but it dealt more damage. And now it just does less damage. And it has a delay. I don't really...
More damage?
I mean, it doesn't really do more damage. No. Like, they nerfed it pretty badly when they hit it. The upside is that you're not as dependent on brand recall because the cast speed is way higher, so you just cast faster. But that's kind of a bad thing nowadays because you're playing with a Hierophant, so you have so much brand recall reduction that you really want to rely on that for clearing fast. And it's not exactly smart to jump into the middle of the pack and then wait like a full second until your brands finally land. So it's interesting, but I think it's going to do a lot of damage. So yeah. And then also, because the brand recall doesn't synergize that well with the build, I'm going to take like the actual AoE notes from Hierophant, which will reduce my damage, but then hopefully with enough Fever Mind, I'm going to get it back up, the Sanctuary of Thought. And then hopefully it's just going to be a big ass meteor drop in and with a lot of increased AoE, and the prolif's going to be huge. But yeah, I got to get level 80.
What about your brand stuff, Ziggy?
Yeah, I started off with the Archmage Storm brand with Orbistorms. So I thought, like, I was like looking at the skills when looking at the Archmage thing, and I was being like, oh, what stuff's going to work well with this? The obvious ones were Storm brand and Orbistorms. Like, why not do both of them? And it worked pretty damn well, actually, as a league starter. It was kind of always my plan to do that as like a get currency, get started on the league kind of build. It ended up being a lot better than I expected because Archmage is so much damage. It is so much damage.
I want to
But and then I just transitioned into my second build that I was kind of like planning on doing. Actually, it was originally going to be like a Rain of Arrows Impale champ or something. But then I wanted to test the new snipe helmet. But then I got to thinking how good that snipe helmet's going to be with like either burning arrow ignites or with bleed punctures. And holy moly, I'm playing the puncture gladiator now. Just got explored area for clearing, but that snipe helmet is insane. It is so good. I've been like one-shotting every conqueror and everything I've been coming up against so far, except Drox. Damn you, Drox.
Well, they added a forced phase to Drox. You can't one-shot him no matter how much damage you have.
I know. I put my bleed on him and he goes into his bubble. Little jerk. It's really nice. If you don't know, there's a new helmet, Asalium. It's you put a bow skill in it and it will turn it into a channeled skill with 6 stages, and each stage gives like 120% more damage with ailments. Has like a little bit of a less multiplier on the helmet itself, but it still ends up being like 400 or 500% increase. Oh, sorry, more damage. And you're like on a 4 link, or I guess it's kind of like a pseudo 5 link, but it's way more damage you can get on a 6 link normally with puncture. So puncture single target was already pretty good. And now we've also got like the physical cluster jewels and the fizz damage over time cluster jewels. And I'm stacking 2 of the fizz damage over times and 1 of the fizz damage cluster jewels. And it's also really nice for the bleed explosions because you get like 100 extra percentage increased like raw physical damage, which is usually difficult to get. You get like from a rustic sash, like that 1 node by the Sun Life Wheel. It's usually difficult to scale that sort of stuff. So this gives like a ton of scaling for the bleed explosions. So those are thick, meaty pops and destroying packs. So it feels real good. Feels real good. I heard Steel was saying he like attributes a lot of his successes, Race, to like the fizz cluster jewel bleed explosion action. And it certainly does feel very nice. But yeah, both builds, pretty happy with both builds, honestly. I feel like I could have pushed the brands like the Archmage a lot more and eventually gone into like low life, like Raiz was talking about going that node to which gives you like the less mana cost, but going low life Ivory Tower or something with that, and then getting some Fevered Mines to put the mana cost back up probably would have been like a nice transition long term, but it's pretty eager to jump on this bow build. But yeah, it's been pretty juicy.
Does it still have the
you
weird
just
bug
use this-
where it lights up and like the sound doesn't stop playing, or did they?
Yes, it is still bugged. I've had some fun with that, having like hardstyle rave parties with the light show thing. It's yeah, when you use snipe at the moment, and I'm surprised it's dodged 2 patches and they still haven't fixed it. But whenever you use it, it adds like a little glowy light to the front of your bow and a sound effect that sounds a little bit like a jet engine. And each time you use it, it stacks, and the audio gets louder and the visual gets brighter. So eventually you've got like an actual singularity on the front of your bow. If you like look at it from side on, it's like a vortex of all the like light and air getting bent into the singularity point, and then there's like a bright ass glow, and then it's going so I gotta like turn my audio all the way down so I can like only just barely hear it in the background. But it's all right because I only really use it to one-shot the boss at the end of the map. So as long as I don't cast it too much throughout the map, the bug doesn't build up too much, and it's okay.
It's a good way
Fine.
to balance abilities. Like if you use it too much,
Yeah,
you get a
sure.
headache. So it's
Well, let's be honest. This entire league seems to be balanced around not using sound, considering the performance. But
we'll get to that in a bit. How's you did brands twice? Was it Niggy or 3 times?
I'm on my 3rd. Yeah, I died twice. Died at like 84 and 99.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I had a really good race this league. I managed to get, what was it, rank 4? I think I could have pushed it to like rank 3, maybe 2. The guy was like letting up a little bit. I don't know. I think so. Going into this league, I played the Archmage brand as well as a racing theme. If you stack the like the brand cooldown and the new second wind as well for brand recovery, you can actually get the recovery really high. I never got to actually try out like the magma eclipse, but you can do that with an empower, and it's like you get so many levels on brand, and it gives you 10% recovery for each of them. That's really good. Archmage is it's pretty good.
I want to try something with Tempest Shield and Archmage and like build your own reckoning out of it, and I don't know. You'd have to actually use something else for clear, like probably Stormbrand. But if you could do a max block Stormbrand's Necro, you can scale mana as Necro and use Bone Offerings for block chance, and then have Tempest Shield proc and actually kill things whenever it procs. Should be kind of neat.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I
That's
actually
cool.
thought about that as well. It's sad, like we don't have anything in the game to actually proc, like self-proc the block.
Yeah.
I wish we had that. I feel like that could be a unique made out of that for Tempest Shield. That'd be nice.
Sounds OP. Damn, I did just watch Ziggy one-shot a Conqueror. He was
League?
not, in fact, lying. He did
That's
just one-shot a
insane.
Conqueror with the snipe, so it's pretty cool. Can you use it on like any skill?
Non-channel, so you can't put it on Scourge Arrow because that's
Yeah, and
already
apparently it doesn't work with Barrage, but I haven't actually tested that yet. Could Jack could be lying, but I can see why it maybe wouldn't work with
Yeah,
Barrage.
weird. I guess.
So is it like, because like there's a lot of bow skills that work pretty well for AoE clearing, but then the single target always suffers, like lightning arrow or something. Like, would that still work?
For like clearing or something with snipe or
No. If you're playing
Like a
lightning
secondary
arrow,
link
then you
setup?
single target with snipe.
Yeah, I don't know like how good its potential is with hit builds. Like I feel like the real shine is with those ailment builds
Dot
because
builds.
with like a hit build, you're kind of just replacing the time you could be spam shooting
Yeah.
with like charging up and shooting a big single shot. So it seems to benefit most for when you can take advantage of that big single shot to get like a massive, bleed or ignite, less so poison.
Cool.
But it does have like 165% more damage per stage with single shots. So I don't know, maybe like Rain of Arrows or something might actually be just like tons of damage with it or something. I don't know, Rain of Arrows Conk Effect or something with it maybe. I don't know.
You
it could
give up
be
a lot of
spicy.
links though, don't you?
Yeah, it probably, I think it always ends up being more damage than what you get from a normal 6 link, but I don't know if it'd be worth the charging up. Unless, if you have really high attack speed, then the charge up does go faster, so maybe it would be still pretty comfy, but yeah, I don't know.
I've been
Does it
thinking
work with
about
Evolve
playing
version?
a... Oh god, everyone was okay then.
Does it work with does it work with a Vol version, like Vol Burning Arrow or something?
I'm pretty sure it doesn't work with the Vial versions. No, I think I tried with Vial Rain of Arrows, and I don't think it worked.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I've been thinking about maybe doing the Poison Scourge Arrow Pathfinder build, because I keep saying every league I'm gonna play it, and I've just never played it. Is there any way you could make Poison work with the new helmet? You'd probably just better off sticking to Scourge Arrow, right?
Yeah, I imagine it'd just be like changing out Scourge Arrow for something else that's probably not as good as Scourge Arrow for that purpose. I imagine.
But yeah, what have you been playing, Octavian?
League started with Explosive Trap. I played it straight out the gate. Act 1 all the way through now to level 95. It's pretty silly. I honestly do think Explosive Trap has the potential to be one of the highest single target skills in the game at the moment, like top 3, maybe top 5 at worst. And I've been doing a whole bunch of Simulacrum farming with it. It's been really fun. I'm a little sad at how much they gutted the boss health in Simulacrums, because it was the only thing that Explosive Trap, like that kind of single target pushing, had to climb to, if that makes sense. But I'm still enjoying running them. They're fun.
They only nerfed it by 50%,
They cut it in half. I imagine we would get to this later on in the episode, but I don't disagree with the nerf to boss health as far as them showing up in maps, because them popping up in the middle of your T16 map and having like 3 times the health of Shaper is a little silly.
Yeah.
But if you're voluntarily putting a Simulacrum in your map device and taking it to wave 20, you're opting into fighting Super Shaper. You're opting into fighting Kosis with the health of a whole city block. Like, that guy should be disgustingly tanky. The one in your map probably shouldn't be, but the one at wave 20 of fucking Simulacrum should be a god.
Yeah, I'm really bummed out that I didn't get a
Octavian.
chance to play it, because I was saving up, and then I didn't even know the nerf was going to happen. It would have been nice if he was like, we're doing this like next week or some shit, because at least you could have then tried it. Now it's just like, yeah, they nerfed it by 50%. So. What are you going to say, Niggy?
But what if you can't kill it? How are you going to get all that loot that you deserve?
You get loot from the last 19 waves, though.
Yeah, the way the loot is balanced, like Simulacrum.
No, but if you don't get 20, it's like it's all for naught.
It's not worth it.
No, it's not worth
What
it.
about my Glacial
or
Hammer
nothing.
build, huh?
Yeah.
Honestly,
I don't know why
Glacial
I'm saying
Hammer could
Glacial
probably
Hammer.
have gotten there.
To be,
He made it
I don't
tanky
even
enough.
know. Yeah, I don't even know why I said Glacial Hammer. I should have just said Armageddon Brand, honestly.
Yeah, that's not getting there. That's not
Yeah.
getting there even with the cut in health. I'm sorry.
I checked I checked PoE Ninja how many people are playing it. 2.
Glacial Hammer?
No,
No,
Armageddon
Oh. Oh, I
Yeah.
talked about it earlier today. It's like Armageddon Brand is literally just, Stormbrand's louder and more obnoxious older brother.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
really
much.
all it is.
Slow too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. There was a one of the people was a chieftain who was like level 94 or something. He had
Wow.
5k damage. It's just like,
Commitment.
damn, dude. Some intense stuff right there.
Yeah. So I've managed to annoy some of my audience because I had a very creative league start of Corsicara, and now
No way.
I'm playing
Nice.
Toxic Rain, which is technically a different ability. I
Is it?
Right.
it's
Is it though?
different. It's different.
Right.
So my first character got it all the way through the axe, no issues, doing Delirium every zone. I'm like, this seems fine. I don't see what the complaints are. Second map I did, I got globaled with 4k life, like 1k energy shield or something. And it was like the multi-proj mortar thing. I'm like, okay, that maybe hits a little hard. And then my next character I got to 92, and I ripped that yesterday. To the Ghost Shrouds thing, it does feel kind of bad with it used to be every second, now it's like every 2 seconds. So I was hybrid with
right.
6.5k life, 2.5, 2.6k energy shield. Felt so tanky. Because it's like, my buffer was great. I then had this amazing idea of like, well, if I respec to CI, I lose like, I go down to like 7.2k ES. So I lose 2k life, but I'm immune to chaos damage. And I had this really nice cluster jewel setup of like a large cluster jewel into 2 mediums into 2 smalls. And all the mediums gave 5% multi. So I'm like, oh, this is such DPS increase. And then I died like an hour later. And I was like, probably should have just stayed hybrid. So I'm now playing.
Extra tricky.
Yeah, go on, sorry.
It's extra tricky with Trickster because you never really know how much damage you're taking. Like, especially if you're doing new content, you could be like, I could have just been hit for like 6,000 damage, but it just took up 3 Ghost Shrouds and you didn't see any of it, right? So it's like, are things really doing damage? Or like, I never felt like I'd lost any HP until I insta died. So it's like, okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help with the way I was playing it because I had enough damage on my Corsicara that I was doing Arrow Nova and just like never stopping, just always run, move, run, move, run, move, run, move.
Oh, nice.
And then I got into this pack that then didn't instantly die. And then my Ghost Shrouds went
Hate it when
away.
they do
And
that.
then I died. And it was like, wait, that's not how this works. So yeah, so I'm now playing a Toxic Rain champion. And I managed to get my hands on an 85 Elder Bow. And I'm now just trying to decide, do I craft it to go for the Poisons Scourge Arrow build? But I don't know yet. But
Why champion?
it was one of those things where I'd seen a few people doing it because I've been playing Corsicara. I play like every league, and every time I went on PoE Ninja, I'd always see like a couple of people as champ pretty high up, and I thought, maybe. And I think like one of the top people in hardcore trade right now, he's champion Corsicara. There's a guy called Shider who plays a lot of hardcore SSF and stuff, and he last league did a pretty good champion Toxic Rain build, and it kind of makes sense because you get like the Fortify, and then you get the reduced damage when you taunt and the 20% more. So if you're Toxic Rain and you're attacking a lot, it's like pretty good synergy there. And the tree I've got does about as much damage as my Trickster tree, and it's got like 200% life. It's got no mana issues, and it roots past the charisma, the reservation between Ranger and Shadow. So I'm running Malevolence, Flesh and Stone, and Skitterbots, which feels quite comfy. So it feels pretty solid. But yeah.
Are you running Iron Reflexes?
No, I really want to fit it in. If you have a very large Thread of Hope in the Jewel Socket by Julius, you can pick up Iron Reflexes and a really nice dot bow cluster.
Pretty good.
Yeah, if people in my private league weren't so shit scared of Cirrus, I would do it. Because yeah, I'm doing a hardcore private league. Carve was like gonna do it. Carve's playing in my league, and then he like saw the fight and he's like, yeah, I'm not doing it. So I'm waiting for Carve to get brave enough to do it, and then I'll let him farm a couple before he rips, and then I'll try and buy one off him or something. But yeah.
Who was it I saw who did it? Who tried to do it on hardcore? I think who died. Oh, I don't remember, but I remember. So it did the it did the labyrinth thing,
Yep.
and it did the whole like media cascade, literally on all the exits. So you know it has like the cinders on the exits.
Yeah.
Like that covered the small fire beams coming up from the ground, so it looked the same, right?
Yeah.
So he walks through the doorway and just gets blasted.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great fight. Ifrico, that's the guy. Actually, I'm not sure if he played hardcore.
Octavian and Ziggy, you're playing software. Have you tried the fight?
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
done it a few times.
I got it. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, you went really quiet for a second
okay.
there.
Oh, weird. Yeah, my audio's all weird. Yeah, I did the fight for the first time finally yesterday because my conquerors weren't cooperating for ages. I really like the new death blazes in the final phase. It's really good.
Nice.
Yeah, those thick, girthy lasers. They like move a lot slower,
Oh, the
but they're a lot
spinning
more
ones, you mean?
deadly. Yeah, the spinning ones. Oh, sorry, not the die lasers, but like the spinning beams. I really like what they did with that, but the rest of the fight is a bit of a mess at the moment with the stand constantly spamming like abilities and
Something
feel like when they
went
put
really
down,
weird
like,
with your
Raiz-
mic all of a sudden. You're like,
is
No,
it
it's-
being weird?
It's the
Oh,
voice
no.
changer. You
Well,
sound
I don't-
extra demony.
I don't have the voice changer on.
No.
is this what you
He's
sound
just
like when
being
all your
possessed.
modulation
This is his
turns
real
off?
voice.
Is this just real Ziggy?
Shit. I had I was having audio issues, so I turned my thing off, but now it's all messed up. God
Okay,
damn it.
This is fine.
you play with that, Octavian. Have you done the Cirrus
All right,
fight
you
yet?
go.
Yes, a number of times. I don't know that my experience is typical, though. I overgeared for the fight before doing it the first time, as I got rather lucky with some early drops. So I was able to sort of just brute force through it with traps. I didn't really experience longer extended phases where the what is it called, the Phantom or whatever he has, was able to fire too much. So it did not feel much different to me than before. But I don't think the experience I had was typical.
So you're saying if you kill it, it's not an issue. Just kill it.
I mean, you have
Yes.
big DPS, you just kind of skip the phases, so it's like.
Exactly.
No.
I was trying not to phrase it that way because I didn't want to sound like a dick.
Right.
But
Well, I mean, that's
Yeah.
what you did. That's what you did.
Yeah.
If you're
do damage.
unemployed and you don't have a wife or children, you can kill the boss. But yeah.
So
If you're
watching
running
it right
armor
now, it
brands,
looks
you might
pretty
struggle.
intense.
traps and mines are still good, basically.
If you don't know, because you haven't watched the fight or seen anything on Reddit, basically they changed something where the apparition is active way more often, and because the apparition's active way more often, he just kind of like RNGs through all of his abilities. So when he puts the maze up, he can laser and do meteors and slams and all sorts. So there's just lots of random bullshit going on at the moment.
Yeah.
And they did a patch yesterday which changed the fight, but I haven't seen anyone do it since then. Have you done it since the patch, Octavian?
No, I have not been able to play in the last day and a half or so.
I don't know.
It's good though, isn't it? Like that they're, kind of making it a little bit harder, making it a little bit more. You get
Yeah.
hits. I feel like last league at the end, everything was just sidestep everything, and
Yeah.
basically nothing ever hits you once you figure out the fight. That's kind of boring.
I like the fight being more difficult. I agree with you on that front, since the storm changes, which were good changes. The storms were
Right.
bullshit in their initial implementation.
Yeah.
But since the storm changes, some of the difficulty was wiped, or,
Yeah.
cut off the top. So it needed to be replaced somehow, but it all needs to play nice together. You know?
Yes.
Having it be
Yes.
difficult is fine, but having the various different mechanics and layers of the fight overlap in such a way that it's bullshit is not fine.
No.
What if
At
you
least
just
they're,
sped him up?
Oh, and
I
he's
feel like-
he's one last thing. He's bugged as hell with dash. When you
Oh.
if you time, it's very easy to do. The timing window seems pretty generous. If you dash when he's trying to teleport you into the maze, sometimes you'll just teleport out of the maze, which is good for you. And sometimes you'll teleport into a wall of the maze, and then you'll be stuck, and then you can't move.
Oh no.
So dash is a little dangerous to use in that fight.
It really does feel weird though. The whole like every time it tries to move you, like just the game's action of moving you somewhere seems kind of weird in that fight.
Go on,
I don't
Ziggy.
know.
Let's see if you've got your voice back.
How's my audio now? Do I sound better?
Yeah, you sound good.
Fixed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know what that was all about. I turned it off and turned it back on, and we're good.
Wow.
Nice.
Classic. Yeah, I feel like for the earlier phases of the Cyrus fight, especially whenever he does any sort of like put a maze down or put the corridor down, they should probably just like hard get rid of any like ground dots that are already existing on the floor, and no like meteor abilities or anything like that. Like just turn all that shit off as soon as it does the teleport. Because I just don't. There's all of the problems seem to be coming from like combinations of things like that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you get teleported in the middle of the arena and a meteor drops on your face and you're like, this is not fair. I also noticed with dashes, someone mentioned dash earlier, with dash's increased travel distance now, you can't do a minimum dash, like it's always the max range, right? So I noticed I'm always dashing outside the arena in the earlier phases now using dash. Like I love the new dash, it's so good. But I keep dashing outside the circle, and I never discovered this. I never knew this mechanic existed until now, that if you leave the circle in the earlier phases, he goes up in the air and spawns a new storm. I didn't know that was a thing because like it never came up for me before. I would just like always stay in the circle, never have any issues. But now I'm like constantly overshooting with Dash's travel range on a high level dash and leaving the circle and then spawning a billion storms. It's kind of annoying.
Another thing to be careful of with dash is if you're doing lab with it, there's a weird thing where you can like dash through spike traps, but you still get the bleed. And those guys they seem to put on like a super bleed. It's like a really short, like 1 second duration bleed, but it drains you really fast. And a couple of times where I've been like just farming Uber Lab for enchants, I've been clipped by it, and it's just like, and you're like, ooh. So yeah, watch out for
I mean,
that.
it's because normally you stand still with it, right? So you
Yeah.
don't actually see how big of a bleed you actually get.
I when they changed pathing a couple of patches though, there's a weird thing with those spike traps. Like sometimes you can keep walking even when it hits you, and you drain really weird.
That was a long time ago now that they did that.
It's been
but
like
it's
stepping
still
off
really
3
spike trap.
leagues that it still happens. But
all of that being said about dash and its ability to overshoot and potential bugginess in a few places, it's fucking amazing. Second wind. People have, I've gotten people asking questions about my build as they do about any build that I play. And one that I get sometimes, like, what defensive layers do you have? And I'll go through the Sab Blind and Dodge and Kintsugi and Endurance charges. And then I'll also say, oh, and I use Dash with Second Wind. Because that's just a defensive layer now. That's how much mobility you get out of that setup. It's really goddamn nice.
no, it's great.
I haven't tried it out on the higher levels. They definitely improved the visuals on the Awakener fight though. I was watching it and looks a lot better, although you still can't see the meteors. But I never really liked that whole thing about randomization of abilities. I don't know. It doesn't happen nearly as much, but like even sometimes when you were doing Shaper, you could do it and it was like super easy, but sometimes you would get like a really weird pattern of abilities. Or not even Shaper, Elder would be especially like that would happen a lot, or Uber Elder, where sometimes it would be a super breeze, and then sometimes you would get this like weird combo of abilities where it would just completely blast you. I guess while leveling, the only example of that for me is the Arakali, the spider boss. Like it's usually a breeze, and then sometimes she like lasers you while the balls are flying in, and the lasers from the side come in, and it's not in the corner; it's like in the square before her, so you have to stand there. It's like, jeez, what is happening suddenly? So I'm not a big fan of the randomization, but I am a fan of them actually making the fight more difficult, because it does feel a little bit slow motion. Like whenever I was watching the fight, it felt like he was attacking fast and there was a lot going on, but when you're actually doing the fight, he feels so slow. I don't know if them just like not juicing up his speed wouldn't be a good idea. Maybe give him some like offbeat attacks like Shaper Slams. I mean, he does have abilities like that, but
they did make him a little bit more mobile in the earlier stages, or at the very least when he first comes down from his big wheelchair in the sky, he will immediately teleport now after landing on the ground. He doesn't just sit there. which does make it a little bit harder to insta kill them with like mines or traps or something.
I hate that. That's the thing. It makes it harder to insta kill him. God damn it. I just can't wait for people to get like Archmage like real juiced up, and then
Yeah.
you're gonna be able to just like do 18 Awakeners in a second. It's like, okay.
It
Speaking
works
of
with Val skills like Val Stormcall and that because it adds a mana cost to them,
Yeah.
which is like crazy good for stuff like that. So you're
was
gonna see
thinking,
some Val Stormcall stuff, I'm sure.
I'm thinking Vault BV as well. Like, so you could
Yeah.
have like normal BV through the map. You just have that running. That would be pretty easy. And then Vault BV on the boss. And brrr.
Yep.
Speaking
it's
of
a balance
weird
support, by the way.
bugged bosses, have you guys had the Ice Lady leaving her dash everywhere? It seems weird that some people get that where the dash doesn't go away and other people get it just perma. The ice grate she leaves behind her, for some people it will fill up the entire area and it will still like chill and freeze you. One of the guys in my private league died to it, and it's a really funny clip. He's like playing a jug and he's like trying to leap slam around it, and he's like chill, froze. Oh no, it's not a jug. I think he's a chief because of those. Anyway, and then he is like alive for 1 second, and then she does the winter orb a bit, and he just dies. But it seems weird. I've done that fight 3 times, and I've never had the bug, and it seems like not everyone gets it. And like Mathel had the bug as well in his Simulacrum video, where half of his town is just full of it, and he's like he can't walk around it and stuff. It's weird.
Yeah, it happens a lot. At least in the Simulacrum, it doesn't seem to be doing anything. It's just a visual lingering effect, but it makes it really hard to see any of the like ground effects or anything like that. Visual clarity.
Is it the same? Is it like the same ability?
It looks the same, yeah. It's the same sort of like spiky ice.
Oh, it's like the thing in the map, like the glacial or the cascade thing that follows you.
No, there's like an icy variant that's got spikes on the side rather than being a series of spikes that move out forwards, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that one sticks around a lot, as well as my automaton brands, as you may notice in the video above. A lot of random brands all over the arena. They really build up over time.
Brand loyalty.
What's that?
Tarke heard it.
Yeah, speaking of random bugs and performance, because it's going to be a big part of today's episode. I'm just curious, like, because we've probably all had performance issues, but what issues have you had and haven't had? Because it seems to be so hit and miss on like what affects some people and doesn't affect others.
Drox monsters just drop my frame rate to 5, even if it's a pack of like 1 pack of Drox monsters. Just as soon as they're on screen, FPS gone. You know, I've had 2 shrines next to each other with a strong box with like 20-40% delirium on the map, and my FPS is fine. And then I walk up to a pack of Drox monsters, and boom, gone. Can't play.
That's how I died on my first character. Drox spawned, and literally my entire PC froze for more than a second. Like I tried to log out, I tried to click things, like nothing was responsive. And then I see my health go down, and then finally it responds, and I'm dead. That was great.
Yeah, that's been the weirdest part for me as well. That whenever I was like very heavily lagging, like the stream would lag where everything would get cut out. Like my entire computer would just be getting blown up. For me, the biggest thing that affected me was the whole not getting master missions and casket not working on your second character.
Yeah.
That really kicked my ass because, well, you're trying to race and like the game map drops are balanced around all the side content that now doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty. And then, but for the actual performance, I struggled a lot the first 2 days. Like shit was really, really bad. And then it started improving. And by now it's pretty much fine. Yeah.
I don't know.
Drox the last few days. I don't know if it changed. Does it still lag you out, Octavian? Drox monsters?
I still get some lag with it. I had some lag yesterday with Drox.
Last I played, which was like a couple days ago, it was a problem. Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I have, and I was curious if you guys have that, and it's really weird. It's like every second metamorph I do, my OBS has an encoding overload. And this happens to me for all of Metamorph League, and it happens again this one as well.
Oh, for me, I never had any issues with Metamorph, but this league, every single time I do it, it just completely like 2 FPS. Yeah, I forgot about that. And hasn't been improving at all. It just crashes it completely. For me, it's easier because I encode with my other PC, so I don't like feel it as much, but yeah, it's still
Yeah, I do it
really,
all
really
just on one PC because scuff.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
fucked.
It is weird how, because I was talking to Bex about it, and she was saying that there's quite a few streamers who just can't stream at all this league. Like Havoc hasn't been able to do anything, has he? And then I know Ziz has been having a lot of issues, and I know Quinn's been having a lot of issues as well. So
Yeah, it's been worse and worse. I used to be able to just monitor capture for PoE, but now when I do it, it just keeps lagging worse and worse, and every league it gets just bad to like extra bad. So I think, yeah, for those guys, it eventually get to a point where it just does not work, no matter what. It would have been funny to see Quinn still playing on his laptop when he was doing that. It was funny watching him do Awakener. And you could see that like his computer was just frying. The laptop was just about to melt. Everything was lagging. But he's like losing his mind. But we can't see any of it. It was good.
I've had yeah, there seems to be a lot of like random and different issues for people. Like I haven't had too many issues with the Delirium itself, except for when it was in like combined with Conqueror spawns and things like that. But Legion for me, this like I never really had that many problems with Legion, but Legion whenever I like crack them, it's like 180p, 2 FPS, and like a bit like you said with Metamorphs as well. Also, snipe bug. Just saying it again in case anyone from GGG is watching. You keep forgetting about the snipe bug.
Snipe bug?
Please fix
The helmet?
the thing we talked about like 10 minutes
The
ago,
gen
Ziggy.
engine that attaches itself to your bow.
The light bulb.
I want to turn my game sounds up so I can hear the
Oh.
bleed pops. I'm playing a bleed explosion
that's
build.
what
I
you're
can't
talking
hear the
about.
pops.
Okay.
Like the best part of playing that build, and I can't hear it because I've turned my game sounds down. Such a bummer.
Unlucky.
We can't mention why because YouTube will demonetize us, but do you think this might also just have to do with the fact there's just so many people playing that the servers are like Pee-wee Trade? If you try using Trade today, that's fun.
No.
That's really good. It
takes about a minute to load anything.
Yeah, and then a
Oh,
lot of the time
really?
it just like cancels your
Wow.
searches. It's really trash. Just
I don't record
think
numbers.
we've had like any record numbers. I actually haven't looked at it, but
We did.
What? We did,
yeah.
have any
We did?
records this
Fairly
week.
sure, yeah.
250k concurrent or something.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy.
And I mean, if you look at the wider picture, just Steam and in general had what, like 21 million? or
Yeah,
something?
Steam's had the highest numbers it's ever had.
Yeah. It's like absolutely absurd the amount of
oh
people.
wow, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are not kidding. These are some big numbers over here.
It's pretty crazy.
What's very fun, if
makes
you go on Pee-wee app, it's got like hour by hour statistics, and it showed like how many people have been using Trade recently. And when I checked it, there had been a grand total of 18 hardcore users who went on Trade. And I just found that hilarious because you're saying like hundreds of thousands.
What?
And then it was 18. That was hardcore like permanent league, not hardcore Delirium, but still.
Oh, okay.
Just
makes
it
more
being
sense.
18 is quite funny.
Yeah, actually, it seems like so far, well, it's gonna go down, but the average player is the highest we've had ever.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I'll see if I can
By
get it
like
up.
20k. It's 132.
See if I can find it on my
Nice.
phone again, and you might get to enjoy the fun statistics. But okay, so performance hopefully is something that will improve. But how have you been finding the difficulty of it, like pre and post patches?
Oh wait, that was peak. That wasn't average. Sorry, it's 132 peak.
Mm,
That's not that crazy.
I'll say this
Previous-
though, like on performance. Just real quick before we move on.
Yep.
I actually think I'm actually pleasantly surprised with the fog. Like, can we just? I feel like for a mechanic that like hovers over so much, like I did really. Has anyone had any issues with the fog in terms of performance? Like outside
No.
of the monster spawning, I feel like
It-
that's.
It's been a bunch
Wait,
of other
like how?
secondary stuff that's been broken by the introduction
Yeah.
of Delirium or the introduction of whatever. You know, I don't understand how it works in the back end, but a bunch of secondary stuff like Drox monsters and legions and all that.
Yeah.
I
I'm
haven't.
like
me,
pretty
the monk
impressed with how
spawning is-
well it looks and like how well it runs. There's like no difference in performance.
Performance-wise, I
For me,
haven't
it's
been
the
having
mobs
that many
spawn.
issues with it. From an OBS point of view, I've noticed it because it's just loads of extra stuff on the screen, so
right.
it lowers like
Okay.
stream quality a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
The main issue I have with it is there are some layouts though where you cannot see like ledges.
Right.
and like the edges of zones. And like when I ripped,
Right.
part of the, I don't know if I died because I was getting sunlocked. I'm also not sure if I died because it was in primordial blocks. It's got like the weird layout with the massive holes in the floor.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was dashing into terrain or if I was dashing into nothing because the fog. And after I reviewed it, I'm pretty sure there was terrain there, but I might have actually been dashing into a wall. I don't know. Also, I found the stats.
I mean, that goes with the theme though, right?
Yeah.
It's like, imagine you're going through a fog and you walk into a tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
The it's on purpose argument.
Just very
character
quickly,
that's
because
like
these are
full
fun
and
numbers. Active trading players in the last hour per league. Delirium, 84,000. Standard, 2,200. Hardcore Delirium, 3,000. Hardcore, 15.
Jesus.
Yeah.
How the mighty have fallen.
3,000 on hardcore delirium's pretty nuts.
Oh.
Because you said standard was 2,000, right?
2,200. Yeah, I was surprised at how close they were. It doesn't help that so many like streamers do private leagues or do SSF. Like, it's obvious that hardcore trade has taken a hit over the last couple of leagues with a lot of people doing like SSF and trade league and stuff. But yeah. But, has anyone else been running into trees or off ledges that aren't there and stuff? Or
This just got me thinking. I feel like we need fall damage in Path of Exile. I feel like that's something we're
that'd
really
be a good
missing.
mechanic, yeah.
Oh.
Just like fall down
Counteract
cliffs.
all those leap slam
Take
builds.
Where like you fall down, twist your ankle, and get like a permanent move speed penalty for like the next 10 maps or something like that.
You know how
Yeah.
the loot is moved? So sometimes you run to like a piece of currency because it's shown at a different point. Imagine if something like falls off a ledge and you click it and then you
you take the stumble, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
That's
yeah,
good.
let me pick this up.
I
That would
think
be
I think
helpful.
Templar would look good with a limp. Would be a nice little. I mean, we're in PoE2. We're getting like multiple running animations depending on how fast you are. So they've got the negative ones where like you start like dragging your leg a bit, you know.
Oh, I think.
I don't think we're getting negative ones.
Oh,
though.
that'd be fun. Okay, so difficulty pre and post patch. So how do we find it?
Terrible. way too easy.
Mhm.
To the point where I'm not even like, it's just, I was so looking forward. I was so looking forward to like taking on a challenge, you know, going through it and surviving, making a strong character. And now it's like, well, might as well juice every single map up, every single zone while leveling, because nothing actually kills you anymore. It does 0 damage. I mean, it does some damage. It's not like, if you have a decent character, it's like, if you don't have a good character, you'll probably still like feel it being a bit challenging, but I don't know.
Armageddon Brent
I'm
didn't feel
sad.
like it was challenging so far, even on that. So I think
Oh,
that speaks
no.
volumes.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I never really had a problem with the difficulty. I don't know if this sounds elitist or not, but like I never felt like anything hit me that hard other than like the after death effects. But now it really never feels like I got a boss really early on, which is very random because I've only found 2 of them across like 295 characters and 88. But now in like my first map or second map, I had one of the bosses and I was just like continuously tanking slams. He was hitting me for like 600 damage, 500 damage. I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, the bosses don't do much. Like, they're tanky, but they really don't do much damage to you. See, I have the problem that my reaction to the nerfs was like, thanks, Reddit. But I've died since then. So, of course, I've had lots of fun comments like, oh, I thought it was too easy, Tarke. How come your character's dead? And that's always the worst thing. Even though I didn't even like die to 0 mobs, I died to a CI character being sunlocked surrounded by 1,000 mobs. But, you know, you'll have that. It's always the like build war defense full head comment, but it does feel pretty over nerfed. I don't know. What do you think, Octavian and Ziggy?
I wasn't a big fan of a lot of the lingering on death effects, and so I'm glad that some of those have been reduced in volume and made more clear. I think if they take the next steps and they add further clarity to a lot of these effects, then they can maybe bring them back up in terms of occurrence rate and in terms of damage and stuff. But it's
It's
an
like
additional-
happening.
I don't think they could ever, because it's I
Its
don't think
initial state is something I personally, wasn't sold on. I do think that there were some nerfs in order. I agree with you that these were over nerfs, but I think there were some nerfs in order. I really didn't like the monsters in particular that would stop at 1 health and then teleport to you after an indeterminate short amount of time and then explode and still have collision while doing so. Those I didn't like.
But just on a point there, has GGG ever nerfed a league mechanics difficulty then buffed it again?
No, we still don't have like. So back in Delve, this is my eternal cross to bear in this regard. Back in Delve, it was really scary whenever an EMP guy would show up for about the first week of Delve, because the EMP would last for a much longer time. It would come out a lot quicker. They did more damage. And then they nerfed that real hard, but then they also buffed flares. Like they buffed flare radius. They made it much easier to throw them. They made it much easier to put them where you want them. They made it much smoother. There's no longer an animation. So they improved the countermeasures versus these EMP monsters, and then never brought the EMP monsters back up to being as dangerous as they probably should be. Like they're not a thing I think about. They're not a thing I've thought about in leagues, but they should be, in my opinion. So yeah, no, you're right. There's not really a track record of doing that, but I still think that that would be something they could do if they were to make visibility better for a lot of these mechanics.
There's no way. like how can they? The thing is, like from the very beginning when I saw it, I was just like, there's only one thing. They either keep it, like they double down on all the explosion bullshit and all this, and they keep it, or they just make it into a loot piñata. And when they released the manifesto, I was very unpleasantly surprised that they did double down on death effects, but then they completely changed all of that and so far that I've seen. So it was kind of a so I can't see them bringing it back, because it seems like something that they ended up agreeing with the player base more.
And I did mention it earlier at the start of the podcast, but since it's relevant again to this point of discussion, I don't like the boss health cuts in the Simulacrum. I'm okay with them in maps. I don't like them in the Simulacrum. That's one specific nerf I don't agree with.
What do you think, Ziggy, before we go really intense on it?
So everyone else is playing hardcore, right? I feel like you guys are.
I'm on softcore trade with you.
Oh, you're playing softcore trade as well.
I'll be transitioning over later, but I start on softcore.
All right. I'm gonna disagree with like the general feeling that I don't think it's like too easy. I don't think Delirium's too easy. I don't know. I ran like an 80% map yesterday. That shit was hectic. Everything was like hurting so much, and I haven't even like touched 100% yet. That was like a tier 12 map. It was a tier 12 100% Delirium, or 80% Delirium orb map. That shit was like so tanky and so ouch. I stacked it up with a bunch of like, other things like sextants and scarabs and all that, and that was some serious content right there. It's going to be interesting doing like your tier 16s and then like your boosted tier 18s and stuff like that with like 60, 80 or 100%. It's going to be like full on. So the top end is there, but even just in general, like running the regular mirrors of Delirium, yesterday I set myself a goal. I was like, oh, I really want to get Saris today because my conquerors have been pissing me off because they hadn't been spawning in the right spots and everything. So it's like, all right, I'm just gonna churn maps. Like I don't usually play that fast. I usually, spend a lot of time in the hideout dicking around and stuff like that on stream. So I was like, no, I'm going hard. So I was running content real fast and blasting through like tier 14 to 16 maps. And it was like the level of intensity of the gameplay in a constant sense, just like running into the mirrors, trying to like power run through maps and do that shit fast. It was like, there's a pretty high level of intensity to running this sort of content, even when it's not super boosted. There's like tons of extra monsters. Generally, as you get like further and further in the map, they start to get really, those last couple packs in the map are usually like quite thick, doing quite a bit of damage. Scary stuff's coming up. It combines with other mechanics that are coming up. Like you get like I get like an exile pop up or something, and it's like deep in the fog, and it's like actually a bit scary if they catch you off guard, stuff like that. So I think in a general sense, it's not too difficult. I think like certainly it's much easier than it was, because a lot of the abilities that were killing me before aren't killing me now. And I do think on the like negative side of things, the little volatile things that spawn, I don't like those, man. I feel like they're one of the most common things I die to. And I don't like the way the mechanic works. I love the way normal volatile works, right? Where it chases you. It's quite clear. And then you run over the top of it to pop it, but you got to keep moving. And then that's like your counterplay, right? Like it's a smooth counterplay. These ones, if you try and run over the top, they insta-pop.
Yep.
I don't like that at all. You have to keep running from them. And if you change direction or something like that, which is like good play generally, it's I'm not a fan of those volatiles there.
From what I understand, they're going to be changing them to behave basically like normal volatiles.
Good.
Hmm.
And if they also do that with the visual clarity changes they're talking about, like make those like brighter or different color or something like that, that'd actually be quite good then. Yeah, like ultimately, we probably just get like another volatile mechanic, but I prefer that to what they are now. Yeah, I'm just like I'm moving. I'm like having to stay really mobile, and I'm like taking full advantage of those double dash charges and all that stuff to like be able to play this content right now smoothly without like getting shreked by it. So I don't know. I don't think it's too easy. I definitely don't think it's too easy.
It's
On
good.
the volatile thing, I think it was just from a design point of view, it was kind of weird because they're like, okay, so these are the good spores. You run over these for mobs. And these are the bad spores, which are the same shape and the same color, but these don't have spikes. The spiky ones are the good ones. The smooth ones, those are the bad ones. And normally you add spikes for danger. You know what I mean? It's kind of, I don't know. It's weird. It's just
Your
weird that
boost
they
must be
look the
dangerous.
same. I don't know. It's weird.
I think to the point that Octavian was making before, like even if they up the clarity, that they could up some of the damage on them. I think there's like, I don't know. I really disagree with the design philosophy behind just the what's it called, just the undeath effects in general. Why I don't see why you would add that as a main feature in something that permeates literally everything you do. Like imagine having a map and every single monster was a porcupine and every single thing had like volatile. Nobody would like that, but I feel like it's like that's what they're trying to push. What I was really looking forward to, what I was thinking that they were trying to give us, was a way to augment the experience of previous like existing content, right? So you would add all these abilities to like your betrayal monsters, and that would be the exciting part to where you finally got it to that point, right? You would have like the occasional, you know, big, scary, ghosty guy coming out of the fog, and you would have a fight with him. But it seems that you're fighting, you know, trying to just avoid, you know, the spikes in the ground. That's the thing you're fighting, and that just feels wrong. So even if they improve, I would rather just have all the explodey things just stay weak, but then maybe improve some of the you know, the effects that they're giving all the rares and the effects they're giving all the betrayal monsters, and making all those unique encounters more interesting and more desirable to chase. Maybe give them more rewards. Like that's where I want to see more rewards, like on the boss fights, on the big boss in the map even. Because like the first time I killed the big boss in the map and I see 2 splinters drop, I have never been that disappointed. It's like, oh, I'm
lucky
doing all
if you
this. I'm
drop
like,
2.
Oh, you
2
mean like
splinters.
getting Kosis or something? And
Yes.
yeah, then he just pops out a couple splinters. I mean, there's a chance that they drop some of their uniques and some of those
Yeah,
can be
they can
pretty
drop the
good, but
jewels, right? The unique jewels and such. It's
yeah.
really good, but I don't know. It was really anticlimactic from all that effort you feel like you're putting in.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's 2 aspects of the difficulty I really like when you like run into packs and they're like much tankier, and then it's all of a sudden a lot of the stuff that we had been ignoring in the game, it becomes scarier, not because of like it's been buffed or anything, but just because of the fact they're actually able to like fight back a bit. That part I really like, and I also really like those extra abilities. There's a clip that from my stream that was really good where I'm like charging up, you know, the twin totem bosses where they're fighting each other. So I run in, the fog's up, I forget the fog's up. I like charge up a bleed, and I like, you know, pop one. I'm waiting for his health to go down, charging another bleed. I'm going, I'm like waiting for the other one to die so I can insta kill this other one. And I forget that the fog abilities are a thing. And while I'm charging, it just smacks me with like a giant fire slam or something like that. I'm like, wait, no, they're fighting each other. They can't fight me. I was like, I thought I was
Nice.
5-heading it and then get surprised by the fog mechanic. It's so good. So those sorts of things, the extra abilities, like monsters getting tougher and fighting back more, that's like the really fun difficulty. I agree. The like extra little explosions and spam and shit on the ground you're not supposed to, don't tread on the black lava, is not the fun added difficulty.
I
I'll
think
definitely agree with
it's
that.
also one thing is like, because when it comes to the difficulty thing, I think this is one thing. So like, so like the core game, if you just make tier 16 maps, the mobs tankier. Obviously, it's more difficult because the mobs hit you. So even with all of these nerfs, that part of the league is definitely still challenging because the monsters get a chance to fight you back. So it is still repeat content. One thing, and I believe this is correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in the patch where they nerf the all the special ability damage, the special abilities also happen less frequently, right? Like the apparitions are less likely to take over rares, like come out their heads and like throw the lancers, because it feels like you're getting less of those like special attacks. Correct? No, I might have to double check the patch notes, but I'm pretty sure they said made it less likely that apparitions will like possess enemies or something.
No idea.
But it feels like we lost some of the correct. Yeah, it feels like we lost the fun things of the league. Yeah, the apparitions occur less often because, as you were saying, Nick, like when we first heard about, oh, these delirium monsters will be like taking over the rares. That seems cool. Like that should be the fun bit.
Yeah.
That you're having these, and visually it just looks great when like the boss's heads like crack open and these like big things come out and like do this stuff. That should be cool. And that was what I was really enjoying about the start of the league, is even with all the on-death bullshit, it felt cinematic just because there was just so much happening. Whereas now it feels more like I'm doing tankier maps, and every now and again an explosion happens that does a lot less damage. And you'll still die to it because, you know, monsters are scary, but it does feel like it's lost that something special. I don't know.
What if they just like juiced up the normal map mods so that they would be tankier and they would still have all the effects where, yeah, they crank open, but like you remove like all of the little shitty mobs that explode on death and, you know, all the annoying stuff basically that happens after. I wonder if that just would have been better altogether. Obviously, they're never going to do that, so it doesn't really matter, but I wonder if just doubling down and maybe giving the mobs kind of like a way to fight back to a greater degree would have made for like more tactical play, more interesting play. It would be a little bit reminiscent of some tankier Diablo 3 stuff. So I don't know how much people would enjoy that, but I kind of wouldn't mind seeing it.
Can I read you my favorite patch note? Because I looked at the patch notes, and this is just, I just find it very funny. The discussed mortars no longer deal damage on impact, which is the single biggest nerf they've ever done. So the mortars, sorry, the discussed are the guys with the big stomachs. They go blah, 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 and they shoot the balls at you.
Oh.
So like they had like impact, and then they like explode, and they left like a degen on the ground. So they still do damage, but they no longer do like impact damage. It's now like secondary damage. And one of the things that was funny about it is that when I did my first video, like reviewing the patch note stuff, I played a clip of the rank 1 in my league who died.
Jug.
Yeah, who got one shot to it.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, that's how can we nerf this? That's too strong." And they're like, "Well, what if it did no damage?" Yes, that's a nice middle ground. Just remove the damage completely. It's like, what? So,
I mean, it is hard to. To be fair, it's really hard to balance like the overlapping area effects.
Yep.
You know, I mean, how do you balance that ability without completely changing it so it doesn't overlap that way? I mean, then they need to like change the whole ability in the
Yeah, but why do they keep implementing stuff like that? See, that I'm never gonna understand. If they were like so adamant about removing shotgunning and all this stuff, like why do we still have this AoE overlap thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it. It just causes so many problems. Feels very cheap most of the time.
It does feel weird to purposely design a monster. It's not like the monster accidentally had a shotgun attack, right? Like they just they pick like, okay, how are we gonna make this scary? So it does seem weird that you would purposely design it that way, and they're actually like, nah, remove the damage. I don't know.
See, but the thing is, in the past, it would also make more sense because, like, totem and minion builds, like, you needed ways of killing them, but now you're just killing single players, so whenever it's, like, some sort of AoE overlap, it's usually very bullshitty, so, yeah, just stuff like that doesn't make sense to me.
At least when it's so immediate, I think if you had it so that, because you could have things overlapping on you, right? And where it would interact with multiple mods. As long like, imagine if the guy just kind of went like even further back and just like spewed his entire like, I don't know, storming or whatever, like up into the air, and you could like
I don't want to imagine that. That's not pleasant.
Raining down on you. No, I'm just saying like, you can make it so that it's You know, you have a visual cue to actually react to. Because when he just like blasts into the wall like near instant, and you're standing in it, and you have no. I don't know if you saw Ayla's drip, Raiz. Like he literally walks up to a wall, and that's how he died.
Yeah.
And then it just goes, and he's dead.
Yeah, so but it was even worse because he was on the other side of the wall. Like,
Oh yeah.
there was a mob on one side and Isla was on the other side, and he just walked up to the wall, and the mob just like, hey, we overlap, insta-gibbed him. It's just like he's even on the other side, dude. Like, how does this even hit him?
D3
But yeah, it
actually
was
did
just
mortars
completely
really well.
instantaneous.
The D3 mortars would be cool because they had like the red rings that would appear on the floor, and then they would rain down from the sky.
I feel like they just need to be more aware when they introduce these abilities, like just giving the proper visual cue for it. I think they changed the Beyond boss, the fire one.
The guy that
That one they changed. Yeah. It spreads more as well. I mean, it's not like they do realize that not like some of these mechanics are a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But
What about
like
like
stuff?
Ooh.
I think like the better way to do that stuff is to like have a delayed barrage or delayed like blast rain style effect where it's like boom, boom. It can overlap, but you know, you're getting kind of like the ability to like move back and forth between them. Or if it's like a barrage, like actual straight projectiles, they're like large sort of things that have a bit of like a delay between them, so you can like move left and right to like dodge the barraging projectiles. That sort of stuff would actually be really fun to like fight against, interact with.
Yeah.
Those are also
I mean, the
really
thing is-
good because when you die to that, you know it's your fault because you panicked and you misstepped. Like you know, like the corridor with the balls, and you mistime it, and you get hit by like every single one. You know.
See, but the thing is, when they changed they implemented a whole change, right? When something's swinging, it travel like the damage actually travels with the swing and whatnot. I really wonder if PoE would work where you would have those just like a big red indicator on the ground in a lot of these situations where it would give you a little bit of time to prepare, but more so on the mobs rather than like just the bosses. I feel like other games do that pretty well. I mean, obviously MMOs do that, but even ARPGs like Lost Ark, I thought it worked. I wonder if it would ever work in PoE.
I think like GGG really don't like things like numbers popping up, and they didn't even like the health bars of mobs, so we had to fight for that originally. So I think I'd hate that, but I actually think that's something you can do in a way that doesn't look like tacky and cartoony, like a game mechanic. It looks less game mechanic-y. Like let's take the example of the belly boys shooting out their projectiles, right? What if like in the lead up of their projectiles shooting out, there's like a bunch of like bile spraying forwards. The bile doesn't do any damage, but it works as like a ground indicator showing that this is where this like projectile is going to land and explode. So you can have that sort of stuff work as a way that actually looks like a part of the skill, not like a red circle on the ground.
I mean, we even have that with the zombies that die and they shoot their souls up in the air. Like that's a very obvious one as well, where it's like this is gonna come and hit you in the face.
Yeah, that one's really good.
Yeah.
On the topic of that gamification, and it's slightly related, I'm actually really surprised at the way in which the rewards work for this league. I mean, at some point on the show, I assume you want to talk about the rewards and how rewarding various levels of content are, but not even like talking about that. I'm surprised that it's a bar that we're filling up that just has like a little icon in the bottom left corner. Like it feels to me like there's a lot of ways that it could have been implemented that wouldn't have felt so much like some sort of just UI overlay that was slapped on. You know, like, I don't know, fog getting thicker and thicker. Or one thing, the little eggs that we have all over the place right now, instead of having a bar filling up as you're clearing the map, the eggs could have been something you hunt to get a reward out of when you kill the monsters that pop out of them. And, you know, the egg could be this is an abyss item egg, and that's a currency item egg, and that sort of thing. You have to find them. I don't like a bar filling up. It's a minor complaint, and it certainly doesn't kill the league for me, but I don't like a bar filling up. It doesn't feel like Path of Exile to me.
Especially when the bar, you're like, it should level up on this pack. Wait, I killed this pack, it didn't move. Did the bar move? Then you kill another pack, you're like, no, I should definitely get it. Then you kill the rare, and it still doesn't quite fucking tick over. And then the fog ends, and you're like...
The bar, I saw a picture on Reddit. It was like the icon itself is like 25% smaller than the like actual where the bar goes to. It's so annoying.
I mean, we did have Rampage, right?
Yeah, I guess just a kill counter.
Yeah.
It's certainly not unprecedented. Rampage kind of bothers me a little bit too, but this is not a topic that's necessarily extremely topical.
I mean, we did have those pictures with the Mountain Dew and the crosshairs and going up. So, I mean, I think
Lots
you're
of
on
Call of Duty
something.
memes.
Yeah.
Moab.
It is. I will admit though, it is weird though because GGG historically is a game which is very much like we care about our aesthetic. We want this vision. Like we campaigned for like what was it, a good year until we got health bars in beta and stuff. No, 2 years even.
It was a
long time.
I think the game was released when they like yeah, it was a long time.
It was
anyway.
a long time, and then they very much like we don't want any of this video game stuff. But then you will have a bar that's just like it's just a bar that just sort of ticks up. Yeah.
Like the Metamorph UI, I really, really liked in that regard because, you know, it was an actual big old vial that you were filling up. So it made sense to see it visually go up like that in the little menu thing. And, you know, you had
Right.
these jarred
Yeah.
organs that you were swapping in and out. Like, I think that was a triumph in that regard. Whereas Delirium is not as much, especially if you consider the flavorful context of the League, which is that you're like going insane and stuff, but you have this button that you can click to stop it, and you have this bar that's going up that tells you exactly what you're going to get at the end, and you know, is perfectly clear and visual clarity. I don't know.
Maybe
It's a
thing I
minor
really don't.
complaint.
Maybe
it does not
that's why
illegal.
the bar doesn't nearly always fill up as you think it should. That's the insanity aspect of it, where you're like, they thought it was going to get it on this pack and they didn't. Fuck the player.
Just make the bars random sizes, so one bar's like twice the length and goes like halfway up the screen. The other one's like half the picture.
various different types of little shapes too. One's a triangle, one's a giant thin line.
Speaking of insanity, did any of you guys, I don't know if they fixed it yet, run into the Elder Delirium bug where teeth just appear everywhere?
What?
Oh, that's mad. If it's
No.
still
in the game, it's great. But if you did like any Elder maps early on, so I got like a couple
Oh,
of
with the
Elders.
tentacle things?
No, just any Elder influence map. Just random mouths would be everywhere, like floating everywhere.
What?
What's the not crater? What's the map with like the red stone and it's got like Fire Fury boss at the
Mesa?
end?
No.
Caldera.
Not Caldera.
Fire Fury boss is Crater, isn't it?
Maybe no, it is crater. No, it is crater. Yeah, I had it on the crater map, and you know how it's got like different elevation with the bridges. It was just like mist and teeth, and my screen was flashing, and there were just teeth everywhere.
Give me a clip. What? That sounds amazing.
If you Google Delirium Elder teeth, maybe it'll come up. Bug. If you Google that, you just get pictures of old people's teeth.
No, do not Google that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe someone in chat can find the link for me.
Oh god.
It did get
Delirious
posted on Reddit
elders.
as well at some point. Apparently the bug
thing
still
Theory
exists
makes
with
us laugh.
Elder. It's the same bug the Redeemer dives still staying, the Stormbrand staying on the ground. Someone will be able to find a clip for you, but yeah, whenever you at the end of
Delirious
this
Elder
podcast,
organ
run a bunch
harvesting.
of Elder maps if you've got any, and
Well,
wait for the teeth.
There's a bug that's less exciting that I've run into with Elder maps, which is where the tentacle creature things that float around, whenever they turn, this whole block of fog just turns with them as if it's attached to them. So they've got these clouds of fog that float around with them and turn in circles and stuff as they turn around. It's disconcerting.
You guys get the good bugs. I don't know. I never get that stuff.
My game doesn't crash or anything. I just get weird looking clouds, and Tarke gets teeth.
Giant teeth and lots of this happened. I think Metamorph is what started it, but there's so much just random missing textures and like Poppin especially got. I don't know what they changed in Metamorph.
I don't know if they fixed it yet, but Oak is a
he's
shadow
still-
version of himself now. He's gone to the other realm.
I don't think they
It's
fixed
improved,
him.
like spooky.
Someone
He's better now.
someone found the thing. I'm just gonna spam this in chat. Click on that.
I need to see this.
That's some spam. Oh my god.
Oh my
that's
God.
horrifying.
Hang
That's
on.
awesome.
Ugh.
I'll
What?
put it there as well so people see it.
Ugh.
And those
That's
teeth
okay.
just
See.
appear everywhere, and they like shoot up and down, and they like move around and everything. And it's
like
like
the
the
fact that
entire
global
zone
on
and
there.
like all the mobs. It's really weird. It reminded me a lot of Vanilla WoW and like anchorage, and it's that kind of a vibe to it.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was gonna be really worried if you said anything to do with real life after it reminded me a lot of.
Yeah.
You know, any of your real life experiences, if that reminded you of them, there would be a problem. That one weekend in Egypt or something.
Yeah. But yeah, no, teeth bugs.
Scary shit.
Did we have a topic beyond the teeth?
Yeah, I was like, oh, Tarke's really building something up. He's about to say something serious. He's like, yeah, teeth.
Yeah, teeth. But no, it's a weird bug. But no, I was gonna say that the pop in, and it's also like whenever you go into someone's hideout, there seems to be like 1 in 5 hideouts that you visit, like just half of their hideout is missing. So yeah, I don't know what they changed or what they broke, but there's definitely something funny with the shaders.
Well, there was that one thing where they were like, yeah, we broke something with the game.
Yeah.
It's like, whoops. But
Whoops.
that's kind of a weird one.
There's been some fun bugs in League as far as breaking the game goes. The ones I'm aware of have been fixed, so I believe it's probably fine for me to talk about. There was a cluster jewel, one of the unique ones. I think it was one of the unique ones that gave Herald buff effect generically, and then you could stack it with other Herald buff effect ones. Would work on virulent stacks.
Yeah.
So you could get like 130 virulent stacks and have a Herald of Agony
Yeah.
crawler that would one-shot everything it touched and attack like so fast that you couldn't see the different projectiles from its attacks. It just looked like
Wow.
a laser beam.
How many do you get normally?
40.
It was 40 or 50.
Isn't it? I think it's 40
40
goes to
is something like
45
that,
with the like you can get +5 from one of the notables, and that's supposed to give you more, but buff effect was giving you even more than that and it's not supposed to work.
So like triple damage.
Yeah, one of my viewers was very angry when his build broke because he thought he was very smart and he's like he'd bought all this very expensive stuff, and then the next patch he's like, no, it doesn't do it anymore.
Is the shield box fixed yet?
That was the other one I was going to talk. That has been fixed. Yes.
That's the craziest one though.
There was a missing comma or something, I think, in like the wording. So it said like
no, it was
No?
block
Were
instead of
thinking
it was
different ones?
evasion. It affected evasion
differently
amount
than
instead of-
armor. Yeah.
No, instead of block percent. So
Oh.
I think that wasn't it.
Are we thinking of different ones? There was one that gave % increased damage per the armor or evasion on your shield.
Yes.
But it gave it at a different rate for evasion than it did for armor. So you
Oh,
could
so
get,
that way. Okay.
yeah. So like it was correctly working for armor, but if you used an evasion shield, it was like 7 or 8 times more powerful. So it would give you way more % damage than it was supposed to.
Someone got 1,500% increased damage from his shield.
That's pretty good.
Hmm.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Did they fix the dual wielding?
Yeah, they
thing?
did fix that eventually.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a very unfortunate bug because that's the kind of bug where you're just
That
like,
was a
why
bad
is my
one.
build bad?
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was funny when people started realizing it. Like whenever I would mention it on the channel, it's like, yeah, swords and dual wielding, by the way, shit doesn't work. People would be like, what? Like, who? I mean, I'm sure a lot of that was just like people trying to justify their shitty builds, but a lot of it is probably also a very salty realization.
Do you want to hear something really bad? And it took me 3 maps to realize what I'd done. I swapped some of my gear around, and you know that when you like swap gear, sometimes your gems will swap around on your bars. I didn't realize for 3 maps that I went from my 6-link Toxic Rain to a 1-link level 18 Toxic Rain that I was leveling. And I was like, I don't know what I've done. My build feels so much worse all of a sudden. And I wasn't streaming, but I'm just like, oh, I've really ruined my build. And like, that boss took a long time. 3 maps. And then I looked at my bars, I'm like, it's a 1-link, level 18. That will do it. That's, yeah.
I feel like I do that multiple times a week, honestly. Like, I don't know. It's not that unusual. Usually that's what I'm thinking. Like, I should have been there. I should have been like, yeah, you're doing the thing that I'm doing.
Okay, rewards though. To get back to Delirium, how are we finding the rewards pre and post? Because I know that you, Raiz, were like, rewards.
Why?
I'd love.
I was
I'd
like
love
that?
to.
I'll go on, Ziggy.
I was gonna say I'd love to share my general thoughts on the rewards before, right? Because there's a lot of discussion about how they're terrible. I think the biggest issue with the rewards before, and this is a pretty interesting thing for maybe GGD to take forwards with future leagues, is that the spikiness of it made it feel very bad. So you would have very good rewards, and like every 5th map,
Yeah.
you'd get something amazing where it was like 15 scarabs or here's 80 incubators, stuff like that. You know, it was ridiculous pops of loot. But then you'd have like 5 maps of armor and weapons and stuff in a row, and you'd get like a couple fuse, and it'd feel pretty bad because you worked pretty hard for it, and the content was hard. And for a lot of players, they're only like sitting down and playing 5 maps, and then
Right.
doing the homework or something. So it feels really bad if you have like armor and weapons 5 times in a row, and then that's all you're doing for the day. So I think that spikiness is a big thing that they need to be careful about. It's like interesting because like Metamorph was mixed rewards, and that's why they changed the mixed rewards. They're like instantly see the problem there. I think they changed to the mixed rewards for Metamorph because it's like you always get like a bit of something at least, even though the spikes were potentially higher on Delirium, where you're getting like when you're getting a big bang, it's like a bit more than what you often see like from a big bang of loot from the Metamorphs. I will say it's a lot better now though.
I'll agree with you. I like the change that they implemented. I'm going to continue my crusade against the bar, though, against the filling bar. I really don't think it was even necessary for this mechanic. Like, I feel like they could maybe have added a little more quant and maybe higher splinter drop rates or something to the Delirium monsters in maps and just gotten rid of the bar and the rewards associated with it entirely, and it would have been fine. The killing of monsters is essentially like 3 or 4 sextants worth of extra monsters and stuff in your maps, maybe more like 2, as well as higher quant and rarity. And that is a ton of extra rewards over time across all the maps that you're doing. And the bar really just makes people focus on the thing at the end instead of,
The whole map.
any of the rest of it. And I do that too. I'm not trying to like say, oh, people are stupid, they're looking at the bar. No, like I do that too, and it feels bad when I get to the end of the map and 2 chromatics drop out. That kind of map honestly would feel better if there wasn't a thing I was watching and hoping to pop at the end. Like I just think it was a mistake to have that. Maybe make it so that rare Delirium monsters have a chance of dropping a Scarab or a chance of dropping a div card that's not associated with the map. So sometimes you can randomly be surprised by some cool piece of loot. Like I just think it's a bad place to put the loot for this mechanic. It puts people's focus in the wrong place.
I completely agree with that.
Maybe
I was saying to people early on, just like think about it as if every single map you ran had 3 sextants on it, because there are just so many extra monsters and then all the quant and everything. And then when you actually like add up how much you're doing throughout the entire map, it's like so blatantly obvious. Then you have someone like MP and like the stuff they were doing, pushing the quant insane and getting like 30 doctors
MP's group
in a
has
map.
11 mirrors.
Yeah.
And they went pretty hard, but I've seen them go harder before. Like they have 11 mirrors. Like you can, and that's an outlier for sure, but you can juice this content. Like it can be incredibly rewarding if you ignore the bar, if you just pretend that crap doesn't exist, because I don't like it.
Yeah,
It's
but
a
isn't
crusade
that
I'm going
always
on.
the case? Like, there's always a bar; it's just not always visible.
Yeah,
But
thing
that's
is,
the
you also
problem,
mentioned,
is that
like,
it's
at-
visible though.
make
You
it
also mentioned-
invisible then.
Yeah, because you mentioned like at the end of the map you would see something, but the problem initially also was that it was very noticeable at the start. Like, oftentimes you would go into Delirium, and if it was a chest, then it'd be like, I'm just not gonna do this one, or I'm gonna get like 2 stages and I'm just gonna peace out. Like, it's not worth continuing. But then if you wouldn't know, it would be nicer. But I mean, that's kind of like maybe they wanted it to stand out from the rest of what PoE is, because that's kind of just PoE at its core. Sometimes you kill a boss and it drops 2 pairs of shitty boots, and people go, lol, lol, boss, by the way. Oh my god, lol, loot. And sometimes it drops 3 exalted orbs, and it's just like, that was exciting. So
I mean,
it does make it stand out, but I do
Is-
agree that it was kind of unnecessary. Still is.
Is that really how PoE is nowadays with Legion and
Blight.
Blight, and everything is in a box. Everything is like you see that thing and now you're you expect to be rewarded with this specific thing. Like it's basically like it's everything, like every mechanic they've pretty much introduced since Delve has been like this. You had Delve, Betrayal was like you choose that thing and you always get that thing. Into Synthesis, like Box Heaven. Into Legion, right? Again, it's been this thing where it's like you're presented with this thing you expect to get. It's no longer a chase for something hidden in a monster. It's all about Okay, now you're getting armor things. Now you're getting that thing. You're building up a bar, and you're supposed to get the thing in the end. I feel like they kind of set themselves up in the situation to where if they're not rewarding players the way they expect it, then players get really upset nowadays.
True.
No, players
because,
do not
like-
get upset, Noogie. You take that back. They did
It's very-
say
I mean,
though.
it's
Sorry, I
like-
just want to quickly say this. I'm like almost 100% certain. I think it was Rory said this when we had him on, that they, with this league, wanted to move away from the fact that it was all just in chests, and that's why it was the system of the. So like they purposely were trying to go away from that. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Raiz?
Oh, it's just that it's kind of like you don't regret. What's the saying where you if you get it, you're happy, but if you didn't know that you could have gotten it, like you wouldn't
Yes.
mind it because you never would have known. Where now you have this feeling of excitement when you see something that you might want to get. I don't know, maybe you really want like a jewel node in Delve and you see it and you're like, oh, that's the shit that I want.
Well,
If it drops the stuff that you want, you're like, okay, I got excited when I saw the node. But if it doesn't drop anything, then you're upset.
an
But if you
important-
wouldn't have known about that in the first place, then you would have been like, oh yeah, I'm just playing the video game. And suddenly something happy happened and
think-
this is cool.
I think a really important distinction to make when comparing Delirium to previous mechanics that have these boxes of stuff is that in Blight, you don't get to see what's in the boxes of stuff until you finish the Blight. In Legion, the Legion covers more of the screen than you can handle all at once. You're still moving around and exploring and finding the cool stuff. So you still like might be surprised by going around the corner and seeing there's a currency box in this Legion. In Delve, you're still pushing the chart down and you have that moment of surprise when you find the thing and you see, oh, there's a currency thing over there that I can get to. In Delirium, you start the mechanic and you know from the beginning you're getting shitty armor. And that feels terrible. It feels like you don't want to do the rest of the Delirium. You know, it's not a box that you're waiting to unveil and open at the end. They've kind of addressed it because if you see armor, you can go a bit further and roll again, and now you might get currency in your second roll. But I do still think that it's a reversal of the system that is not at all favorable for how it feels to play.
I really wouldn't compare it to Blight or Legion though, because like with Blight, you don't get to choose. Like you either succeed or you fail. I mean, there's those situations when you fail and you still get a reward, but you don't really get to choose that. And when it comes to Legion, like most of the time your build is either able to do the whole Legion or you do like what you can. I don't think you, other than like doing the boss, you kind of just go, there's a chest and you kill it. You don't go, I'm going to look for a better chest and the same thing. Like
Yeah.
it's usually efficient.
If we're going to compare to past leagues, I think one thing which was a big failing, so Ziggy, you said how when you first spoke to Chris about the idea was that when you encountered a boss and it was affected, it would stay infected. When they remove that, the fact you don't get any benefit, because like with Breach, even if you don't kill the Breach Lord, you still got some splinters for damaging it.
Yeah.
And that felt great. And I think the like bosses would have felt a lot better if you're like, oh, I probably can't kill it in time, but if I damage it, then I'll still get something good out of it. And
I haven't
then,
done
Yeah,
that
it's a
much of the bosses, like map bosses after the rework. Did they actually drop stuff? Because initially in Delirium, I would
They-
never kill the map boss with the effect because it would just literally drop like maybe one splinter.
They drop like
it would barely
5
hit the bar.
to
Okay.
7 or something now.
Oh,
A lot of the time.
But
But
you're
you-
talking about the map boss, not the.
I was
map
talking about
boss.
I was talking about the unique,
Okay.
but it's also true of the map boss. But like the unique one is, I had a really frustrating time with that. So before the
I
patch,
misunderstood. Yeah.
I encountered the unique dude like 4 times. The first time I killed him and he dropped 2 splinters, and I was like, well, that felt shit. The second time I was like, it took me so long the first time, I'm gonna skip it. It's not worth. And then the third time, like, you know what? Let's go for it. Maybe that's where we get the unique cluster jewels from. I got him to 15%, and then the thing ended, and I got nothing. And I was like,
Yeah.
the 4th time, the same thing happened. And I was like, The 5th time I got it after the patch, I killed it. It dropped the unique cluster jewel. I'm like, okay, I got the thing. But it's very frustrating when you have mechanics like that. And this, I said this exact same thing about Blight. Because of with Blight, you nearly always get all the chests at the end. There's nothing worse than when you've spent like a minute on an encounter, and then it ends to something which feels like it's out of your control, and you get nothing for your efforts. And I really dislike that. So I wish it had the breach system where it's like, well, you got it like 80%, so you're gonna get something out of it, you know. You would have gotten more if you
But I
killed
don't
it,
know
but
I
you'll get something.
dislike that. I kind of like that. Like the whole not everybody can be a winner. You know, like you don't. I don't think PoE should give you a participation reward, but I think they should be consistent in how they approach that. And because it does work well in Breach, I do agree that I think it would work better going forward. Because you can't
Have-
really take that away anyway. So
Have you also had the thing though where the unique guy will just run out of the fog? Because that can happen sometimes. Where he'll be like, "Yo, I'm gonna hit you real quick," and then he just leaves, and you're like, "Oh."
I'm here to be your unending psychosis unless I go that way.
Yeah, if I go slightly to the left, I'm out, and you're not seeing me ever again.
solid.
Yeah.
I feel like the break happens all the time, but people don't actually like see it. You don't notice it. You just keep pumping away. Because my experience with the bosses was it was the same as your Starkey, but in reverse. Where like the first time I killed, I was like, "Oh, I dropped a unique," and another one. And it was like, "Holy, all this shit was amazing." And then like it kept getting worse and worse, and eventually get to a point where I'm just like, "Fucking unique guy, like get out of here, dude." It just broke me.
So how are we actually finding the reward now since they patched it? Because we've mostly just been talking about how we found the reward annoying before. Are we happy-ish with it now?
It's an improvement. You know, I've crusaded on the podcast already. I have my fundamental problems with how it's handled. I think this is a band-aid that improves the system, but I think the system itself is not fundamentally the correct way to go about it.
I think overall it's very rewarding when you like
yes,
account
it
for
is.
the loot and the extra packs and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, man, I had 5 exalts drop yesterday. Most of it was like in Delirium. It felt pretty good.
I don't mean to imply it's not worth the time with that
Yeah.
statement. I just wish it
Mechanically.
were. Yes, I wish it were mechanically different, and I wish it communicated
Yeah.
things to the player differently. But Deliriums are definitely worth doing. Like they're plenty rewarding.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I gotcha. Like the extra splinter drop rate now, except like I feel like the rate is good, except I freaking hate that like 15 splinters are like appearing randomly dotted around the map, and usually it's like shit that's dying behind me, so I have to like run back and pick up the splinters. That's really annoying. I definitely am 100% for the idea of the splinters dropping in the reward pool at the end. They'd probably have to rework the system in that way and just say that like it's based on reward bars. Every reward bar you get like a couple splinters or something. If I would much prefer that, and you could just pick up the spinners in one pile at the end because it's so annoying.
Why is it 300? I don't understand. Why did they do this?
Just
I
is
will
shut up,
never
okay?
understand.
No.
I'm still upset about it, man.
Granularity.
Get it.
They did it for granularity, obviously, so they could like drop more splinters and have you feel like you're picking up more. But that's actually kind of annoying because they're dropping everywhere. So you're like picking
But it's
up
more
300.
content. Think about all the content that you were getting with picking up 100 for Breach. Now you're getting a three times the content, dude. It's crazy.
Exactly. That's fundamentally the idea of increasing
They
the
should
splinter
reverse it, you know, instead of dropping stacks of 16 now from bosses and shit, they should just drop like one by one, just 16 clicks. Way better. And then even better, they should not automatically stack in your inventory, so you have to like manually move them over every time. Holy shit, that would be
And then
cool.
instead of getting a simulacrum, you get a simulacrum fragment, and you have to collect 4 of these in order to put together a simulacrum.
Yes, dude. The
I'll
future is here.
God damn it. I'll say yes only if you increase each stack size to 10. How about that? I'll make a deal with you.
No, I feel like
Absolutely
it should be
not.
9.
This is too important for me. I will not.
I get
I will not
really
step down.
caught out by the remnants of corruptions because they only stack up to 9. I always try and stack them to 10 because I think they're the only currency that stacks to 9. I don't think anything else does.
You might be
You
right.
guys remember
What do
the
other essences stack to?
I don't know. I don't know.
Who stacks
Essences?
essences?
9. No?
Are they all
Probably.
9? Oh, I
ones.
fucking... Oh my god. Oh,
Yeah.
it's frustrating.
Hey, guys, remember that conversation about anime weapon and how it's gonna be 20? Well, guess what, bitch? It's 14.
There was
To
a
be,
picture
to be
of
fair
20.
though, I remember
I know.
saying...
Picture.
I remember saying that
I
it
told
will...
you though. I knew that there's gonna be some fuckery for sure.
No, but I did. I remember saying they'll have it so 20 is the wrong number, so that 21 is the right number because 21 is 15, right?
No, 21 is 21.
Yeah.
What?
No, Octavian, that was a terrible joke. But no, if you have a level 21 anime weapon, the cap goes up to 15, right? They wanted the 21 threshold to be like a nice round number, so they made the 20 a scuff number. But,
I was thinking like maybe like when you get it to like level 30, it'll go up to 20 or something. So if you had like Empower in there and everything, that's kind of what I was hoping.
Cold
If you, like,
Irons.
juice it out that way. That'd be pretty
Fuck,
nice.
what if they saw the podcast and they were like, you know what? 20 would be too strong.
Oh,
14 it
no.
is. Yeah, well.
We haven't really spoken about Delirium Orbs at all. I'm guessing
They're cool.
Octavian and Ziggy's probably done more orbing. But have you guys been
Yeah.
orbing
Really fun.
up your stuff?
Mm-hmm. They're one of my favorite parts of the league. That and Simulacrum. I enjoy them both much more than the actual Deliriums in maps.
Yeah, they're good.
Mostly because I don't like having the time pressure, I guess. Not that I think it's a bad part of the mechanic, it's just I don't enjoy it as much. I do think the time pressure is a good part of the mechanic overall. I just like the Delirium Orb content better.
Do you
Yeah.
guys drop them pretty frequently? Because I feel like I
Yeah.
was dropping a lot of them before, and now I'm like never seeing them.
No, I still
Like,
get them
ever.
quite often.
Mm.
Yeah. You back in
What's
maps
that,
yet?
8 or 10 yesterday.
Yes.
In maps yet.
That's the problem, Raiz. It's taking you 20 minutes to clear a map with your Armageddon brand. So, you
It's
know.
fucking true. The entire conversation before that we were talking about how like you can only do 5 maps and then you got to do your homework. I'm just thinking about that chieftain guy who's probably been on the map for the last 30 minutes. It's just like Jesus Christ, dude.
Oh, God.
Oh,
It's
that
just-
was actually one thing I wanted to bring up because someone made this point to me, which I think is kind of fair. I think he was being a bit like whatever. He was saying, Tarke, you can't have an opinion on the league because you've picked a build which is good at the league mechanic and only played a build that's good at the league mechanic.
Right.
Do you think part of the reason why we often get such extreme different feedback is it's always like you get most of the harsh feedback week 1, and they will say, streamers this and blah blah blah. Streamers will generally, especially like Raiz, and if you're racing, you're going to pick a build which is good for racing. And part of me thinks that's why some of the feedback's been so heated this league, is it's like the difference between playing like an okay build, an insane build, and also why some people have been so pissed off. Like, I think Ziz even admitted, like a couple of days into the league, that sorry I've been so salty recently because of my tech issues. I've just been really stressed out, and I'm really curious about how much people rate an entire league just based on the shit they've got going on. Like, did you have that at all,
So much.
Raiz, where it's like you're stressed out because
Oh,
it's
for
league
sure.
start, and then because like fuck this game, everything is bullshit. But
I mean, I don't think was anyone super pleased with the start of the league here.
I was actually, I really liked it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like all the
I've-
death
I've-
mechanics as well. I mean,
I didn't because
feel
my
like-
build just moved, so I didn't mind it because I was just like moving.
Yeah, but then you had to pick up loot too, no?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was the
I-
problem. Like
yeah.
I didn't mind the difficulty. Like the thing was, for me, it kept getting easier the higher level I was. So I felt like a lot of the feedback of difficulty came from people who were leveling up. Because Delirium was really difficult for me leveling up as well, and there were a lot of performance issues. But then white maps were easier, yellow maps were easier, and then red maps were like way easier. So, but around that point, you know, probably a lot of people went to sleep. They were waking up, right? They're not even in maps yet, but they have all this feedback that they're going to give. And I would totally agree at that stage. But nobody's ever like, well, on my level 16 character, I would like to point out that Delirium is this and that. It's like, well, they're just going to say Delirium is this and that. And you just have to assume that it's at the same stage. But yeah, for me, it was incredibly frustrating. I fucking hated Delirium, which spawned like one clip that I'm not very proud of because I
saw your Reddit thread, Wise.
Yeah, see, but that's the thing. That was after like 7 hours of like a normal conversation and continuously getting bashed. And I absolutely stand by what I said, except the whole invoking the name of the great Neon, because it did seem like I
Right.
was calling him out, and that was totally not the point of that. But I can see how it came across as such. So I'm sorry. Okay.
No, to be fair, everyone here except for Ziggy, because Ziggy's great and he's just a nice person in general. And maybe Octavian. Octavian's quite nice as well. But everyone here, aside from Ziggy and maybe Octavian, is like you're pissed off at the stream, and it's always that one. You can have like a 10-hour stream. That one bit where you're like, "Fuck everything." That is the one clip that gets on Reddit, and then it's just like that's just your
Yep.
existence for the next league, and you're like, "Oh,
Uh-huh.
no."
Yeah, and it's especially worse, like the worst when people use you as like an example. I had that so much with Blight, where I was just like, I feel like playing other games, so I'm gonna play other games. But everybody was like, even Raiz isn't playing Blight. The league fucking sucks. And I'm just like, I really liked Blight. Like, stop.
I'm just
Stop
a
this
dude who wants
shit.
to play some Risk Rain or something.
Like, yeah, I'm allowed to do other things. It's not it's like I'm not trying to make a stance with everything I do. So yeah, it does get pretty tricky like that. Especially since for me the extra frustrating thing was this league around that I love the patches that they do. Like overall, the game has greatly improved in my opinion with Conquerors, even though the boss fights, well, series specifically, I think they're step down compared to like what they accomplished with Shaper and Elder.
Yeah.
But overall, the game is so much better. But they've done everything that I've pretty much wanted them to do for the longest time, and it's even better because I think the community for the most part agrees. So that was amazing, and they continued that trend with these patches, this league for Delirium. So
Yeah.
it's always very difficult to mention like I really love the game right now, but I really fucking hate the league mechanic because it boils down for people to, you just don't like the league. So that's also difficult. Like,
Yeah.
how has the league been treating you? Or like, how are you finding the league? The league's great. The game's fantastic. The league mechanic, questionable.
Yeah, how long did it take for like Metamorph to get fixed? It was about like 2 weeks or something before we got some real nice solid improvements and it was in pretty good state then.
I think it was
This is like
longer.
It was like 3
Maybe
weeks
Maybe
or
it was
something.
like the course of a month or
No.
something.
I think it was like 3 weeks.
No.
It was
no,
long.
that was
Was
Blight
it?
probably. I think like Blight was like a month.
I'm pretty sure it was 3 weeks. I'm pretty sure we had like 2 episodes of like, ooh,
Did we?
What to pick up was like a week. Yeah, it's not too bad. But how about this league though? Like
Auto
within the
pickup was
first
really
few
fast.
days, back to
Yeah,
back
like,
banger patches.
whether you like
Yeah.
the changes or not, they've changed so much in like 6 days.
It's like snappy response time from GGG this league.
It was interesting too because they really didn't seem to comment on it too much. They really gave it a couple days and then they just like really seemingly out of nowhere pounced on it. It's like, here's a manifesto, here's another manifesto, here's a patch, done.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I kind of do like that. Especially
And
since the first manifesto wasn't that great in my opinion. Like they really
Yeah.
kind of like doubled down on it and it was like, really? And then they got more feedback and now they did a lot of changes that I don't think were in line with that initial one, which is in my opinion a good thing.
I think that manifesto would have gone down a lot better if it just didn't have that one line about loot filters. Like, I agree with what they were saying, but that was like the worst thing to put in there. Just like,
What did they say exactly?
basically, they had this whole thing, and then like, by the way, use a loot filter, you shit piece of shit. Because people complaining about the timers and having to backtrack, and it was like, if you use a loot filter, there's less things to pick up.
I mean, they're not wrong though.
Yeah, no,
Upgrading
like,
their loot filter
I
helped with the
remember
league
when
mechanic a
I
lot.
read it, I'm like, I completely agree with the statement, but that was the worst way of saying that. Because that was the thing, like, if you looked at that thread, like 9% of the comments just like, loot filter, lol. Like, so it just boiled down into that.
The worst one for me was the whole, like, they said, I'm pretty sure it's a quote. They said, like, it's the only way for mobs to fight back when they were justifying the on-death effects. That one really, like, like, you're actually going to say this? Don't you think there's kind of a problem with that?
Speaks to a more fundamental issue.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's where I'm like kind of worried coming into the league. How much they double down on the mechanics and how they even implement like the league in such a way to begin with kind of like worries me. Like that they're stuck in a lot of ideas of the ways we deal with either speed or loot a lot. Like with the 1-1-1 stacks, I guess if it's the only way to give people a sense of progression and like the only way to combat, super high clear speed is by blowing them up by on-death mechanics. There has to be a better way. I really, if that's their only idea of dealing with it, I don't know. I feel like that's, I don't know. I would like to see something better.
One thing I would like to gauge your opinions on, because this is something that even people who hate the league, they agree with me. You have to admit, this is like the best NPC we've had, right? The whole just spooky nebulous voice and all the like little bits of extra lore he adds in leveling through the axe.
Synthesis
They
was
named the
pretty
last
bang
one
too.
after me. I'm kind of biased.
But like, didn't you? There's like a few things which are just like random throwaway lines. Like when you go to Act 7 and you go through the first zone, there's a random throwaway comment about like, oh, by the way, all of these skellies are the bandits you killed. And it's
Yeah, that
like,
was
oh
cool.
shit, I never thought about that. Yeah, these are all of Craitlin's dudes. And
Yeah.
it's just like,
You
there are
did
loads of really
this.
small little things. You're like, huh, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
The delivery is pretty fantastic too.
Yeah.
Props to the voice actor.
Yeah.
I don't actually know his name off the top of my head. I should probably go look that up. I think his last name was Hollows, if I recall.
Yeah,
from
well, I
the
remember
Reddit post.
Beck saying something about Hollows. So yeah, shout out to
Um,
Story Nick as well for the writing, because the writing,
but-
from my point of view,
It's really good. Oh, like it's really good. But at the same time, it also like how good it is makes me disappointed that there's not like a next step to it. It feels like so many leagues we've had where there isn't that next part. Like,
Yeah.
so I've not finished Wave 20 on the Simulacrum, but I don't think anything else special happens after you do.
No.
I was
No.
like, I think he says some
No.
extra lines, but I don't think
He-
anything else really
I
like
don't remember the
progresses in a story there.
I don't remember the exact voice line, but he says something along the lines of, "This isn't the last you're going to see of me, Spider-Man," and then
Yeah.
he vanishes into the void.
So it's just an open-ended loop kind of thing.
Yes.
Where he'll keep saying his lines, but nothing like interesting. Kind of like there's no like interesting resolution or next reveal. Like
Yeah. I mean,
this
to
is
be
why I was
sympathetic,
doing all of this.
to be sympathetic to the writers, that's really hard to provide in the context of content that's supposed to be replayed over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like,
and
you
maybe
played
he'll come
yeah,
back in
insanity
like 8
thing.
years' time. He'll come back with all the Harvey boys, like, yo, I've deciphered the language, and like we'll get to hang out, and it'll be really cool. But,
Yeah, maybe one day we'll have like version 2 of these leagues and like answer a lot of these questions. Like, oh, the synthesis stuff. So the you know, follow up to the synthesis things, or here's the harbinger mysteries solved and all that sort of stuff. I feel like it's just the curse of the 3-month cycle is that we only ever get like half of the story because there's just not enough time to explore the second half of that.
one
cool, it's cool
thing
though.
we kind of didn't really talk about at all today: cluster jewels.
All
Yes.
right.
Oh my god.
The best thing that's like ever happened to the game ever. It's just like, oh,
They're good.
they're so good.
I
They're
like
really
them.
good. Yeah, they're very fun.
I mean, I think the Atlas is pretty cool too. That might be my best thing ever happened to the game ever. But cluster jewels are cool. I like them.
I think the biggest like applause I have to give GGG on these is that they are so accessible.
Yeah.
Like compared to like Legion jewels and that, this is the like they're
They kind
pretty
of have
common.
to.
They actually made them way more common than I expected. So it's actually pretty easy, especially with 5-1 recipe, even in Solid Silphan. You shouldn't have too much trouble getting like a jewel you want eventually. They're actually really easy to craft and they're pretty easy to use. Like
They've
yeah,
ahead.
making a good build with like a complex passive tree that you can expand and change and customize now is like crazy. Like the level of depth there is crazy, obviously, but the jewels themselves are like such an accessible thing.
and they've
And,
done a. I'm sorry. Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
They've done a really good job of maintaining that accessibility while still having a top end to strive for with them, because they lean on the the tried and true
Yeah.
method of crafting that's been in the game for almost everything else for a long time. You can still like get a really high eye level one and go for the exact specific notables you want with like other added small passive skill effects. So there's room to min max while having them be very approachable and easy to get a good one.
It's also cool how there's this kind of cost where, depending what build you're playing, you either want ones with more nodes or less nodes, which I think is really cool. Because if you have, like, for example, a small jewel with only 2 nodes, that's 1 less travel point. And with medium, there are some you want like 4. So, like, for my character that I ripped on, and like the whole reason why I swapped it from hybrid CI in the first place was like, dude, with my CI tree, I can take like 30 points and just go crazy on cluster jewels. So I had the large into 2 mediums and 2 small. And that felt really great. And there was this whole thing where, because my medium jewels, the minor nodes gave me 5% dot multi. There was a real decision of, do I go for a smaller jewel so I get more efficient travel, or to go for the bigger jewel because dot multi is so powerful? And that, I think, is a really fun little dynamic, so that not only are they accessible, as Octavian said, you can min-max them how you craft them, there's also that min-max on the what... Because in past leagues, it'd be kind of like, oh, this is just a shit base, but what's a shit base for one build might be the perfect base for another. And it also makes timeless jewels feel a lot fairer as well, because there's a lot of opportunity cost for most builds where you're like, well, how am I going to fit the timeless jewel in because I need to root near a keystone, and then how am I fitting the cluster jewel in? I really like that like dynamic it adds to builds.
There's really good like tiered steps to crafting and using these two, where if you get like, say, you get like a level 75 one, you alt for 2 jewel sockets, 1 notable and regal, the 3rd notable. That's a really solid jewel that is like in many cases, very worth taking and very advantageous to your build. But then there's the next tier that's much harder to reach, which is when you can add another notable to it with your like chaos spamming or scaralking or fossiling or whatever to try and get that extra notable, that 4th affix. That 4th affix is like a big difference, but they're still very good at 3 affixes. It's interesting how divisive these cluster jewels are. I still hear so many people, and I saw it in a chat earlier, it's like only like in 1% of builds are these better than the rest of the passive tree. I think like the fact that there's so many like 3-stat jewels that are like really, really good is pretty counter to that point. But it's interesting how divisive it is, and people still see it that way. I wonder why that is.
I do
Because
think
those people are
that-
objectively wrong. Sorry.
I don't think
Like,
I
there's gotta
don't
be
think
something
that's
going on there.
entirely. I don't think that's entirely fair, because they are not. They actually aren't that great until you get the medium small going on top of them, because they're so point heavy. Like to get a large one rolling, it's you get like 1 or 2 notable. Like, I mean, it's barely worth it if you only have like a large one without a good either like medium large or medium small to lead into. So you kind of need to have like a package before it feels good. It's hard to just justify having one, I feel.
I kind of disagree, because if you get a large, like 2 jewel sockets makes a big difference to this argument. But if you get a large with 2 jewel
Right.
sockets and 2 notables, even if you don't have like a good medium or small to go into, or you don't even plan on doing that, just putting 2 regular jewels in those sockets.
Yeah,
Like,
but they
I
also
bet you
have to
could
be
do
pretty
that.
good. I mean, there is still
really good.
everything has to be pretty good, and a lot of builds don't necessarily lead right next to the dual socket, so you end up spending like the amount of points that you would have gotten dual sockets elsewhere anyways. So you basically it's pretty much like even Stevens a lot of the time, and sometimes you even come out like with less.
I
Don't
feel
get
like
me
that's
wrong, I
really
think
only an argument for the large ones, though. Like
Yeah, I mean,
medium
but
and
that's the thing.
especially small, like work
once you
on
lead
everything.
into the once you have more of a package, it's totally worth it.
I feel like
It
as
becomes
well.
super good.
I feel like as well, there's an argument to be made that in some cases it's a matter of getting an effect that you can't through other means easily. So like
Yeah.
Cremator
Yeah.
for builds that can ignite relatively easily and would want to use a, maybe a fire dot multi-jewel or something, that's corpse removal. Corpse removal has more value than can be quantified in a lot of ways in a certain number of passive points. So it depends heavily on whether or not one of the jewels is going to give you some build enabling or high defensive stat like that.
Like from having leveled up to like 99 and having a tree that pretty easily gets to a duel that can lead into it, I didn't manage to find anything that could be better than my tree like in that
what were you
time.
finding
Really?
in this?
Yeah,
Did
it
you
was
find
like it
one
was
of the
all
nano-
just like
small
there's
nano
like,
ones?
yeah, that's
Those,
like it's
those
so
are
it's
pretty nuts.
which ones?
The small
like,
nano ones,
but they're
Yeah,
really
it's like-
rare. Like the
Oh,
small
I-
jewels are
I
rare.
had two.
I found like 5 smalls, and none of them
Oh.
were.
Oh, that's very
You know.
low. That I've
Yeah,
got,
that's
Yeah, I mean,
that's
really.
yeah.
I ran a decent amount, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, for having run a decent amount of this, you can't really fault people for saying it might be hard for them to feel like they're getting value out of this.
I think okay, so I
So
think
if
the
you're
reason
not
for that is
trading and if you're not doing a lot of this content, you might not find anything.
I'm just gonna say though,
Useful.
it sounds like you got properly screwed by RNG because playing to 99
Yeah,
is a lot of
maybe.
maps. Because for
Yeah,
context,
that's like accessibility.
I haven't been
Probably
buying
consider
them off people, and I played a character to like 70 that ripped, then one character to 92, and then my current character's like 83 or something. I have every single small jewel type, even life. Life was the last one for me to get. I've had like 5
Right.
ES ones. I've had loads of mana ones. I have every single jewel type.
yeah. I mean, when I booted up my Essence drink, I was like, the only one I want is the dodge one. It was literally the very first one that dropped because it's like the ailment avoidance. You get the 30% out. I'm just like, damn. But like that definitely, I think a lot of people's mentality is that they feel like they need the large, medium, small. But I don't think that works that well on a lot of builds. I think the small works on every build. Like if your build doesn't work with a small, I don't know. Like it has to be like something super crazy because that always works. Mediums can be questionable, and then the largest have to be rolled, and they do have to kind of like enable your stuff. So for instance,
Yeah.
if you're playing Archmage, then you don't want to, I don't know, you don't want to travel to Shadow, for instance, and you started off with Hierophant, then you need like those 20 points to spend somewhere without traveling to the Scion. And in those kind of situations, it's gonna work. But again, the fact that somebody would not be able to incorporate a small one, I truly don't understand.
I haven't been that blown away by the small ones, apart from I'm using the dodge. I'm using a 2.0 that has like dodge and elusive. That one's pretty banging. But yeah, I haven't been that blown away by the other small ones though. Like I know there's some good stuff on there, and like in some cases, in theory, like yeah, that's kind of worth going for life. But I haven't really ended up doing that, and I wonder why. I've had more success with the. Actually, it was kind of the reverse of what I expected. I expect the small ones to be insane, and the large ones to be kind of meh. But I've actually been more excited by the large ones in general. Like I was on the brand build, I had like the supercharge, which is the lucky lightning damage, which we worked out was like about 15% more damage on my build, and then also the one that blinds nearby enemies when you cast an elemental skill with Tempest Shield. That's like perma blinding everything. Was so good. So like that with dual sockets into mediums that give like an extra brand that I was able to stack because I was basically building it as like a brand recall, kind of just as many brands as possible style setup. Man, there was some good stuff in there. Whew.
To give you
so
some
good.
context, like some of the small ones, and obviously if you're spending like 6 points of travel, sure, it's not great, but like if you have a 2-point small one with 100 ES, that's solid because it's
That one's
like
really good.
the minor node is 6%. So I had one which was the travel node was 6% flat in resist and then 100 ES, which is great. On life, you can get 8% life, generic attack leech, 10 life gain on hit, which is great because life on hit is pretty hard to get hold of, and just having generic life on hit is pretty strong. Another one of the small ones is 10% life, 20 flat life.
I'm using that
Then
one.
there's the avoidance, like avoid ailments ones, which is great because like a very popular strat for a long time is like Shaper Boots for 35%, Anoint Crystal Skin, 25 helm, 25 gloves. So being able to get the avoidance that way is huge. You can get like just all max res, which is like pretty bonkers. They're not many of the small ones are like super exciting, except for maybe the avoid ailments, because that changes how you build your character. But they're all like just generically very powerful.
Yeah.
Either way, very cool addition. And it's a nice way to progress your characters. I feel like it makes levels a lot more impactful than they were before. Because generally you kind of stop traveling nowadays on most skill trees around like level 85, and you're kind of like, here's a node, here's a node, here's a node. And now it's like, well, if I get 2 more levels, then I'm going to be able to fit this fucking banger of a jewel in, you know, and I have to actually think and respec a little bit. I really do like that a lot. It's cool.
Yeah, and also just finally, the fact that also the jewels are variable as well is nice because it means that even if you play the exact same build back to back, if on the first time you played it was 4 extra points, having a 4-point difference can change your tree a lot. And as someone who, as Chat of Thrones, only plays the same 2 builds over and over again, it's really fun having that variance there.
You are really bad with that. You gotta do something about it.
The problem I have, and I do this, is like like last week I basically only played traps. It's like when I play an archetype, I like to see all the different ways I could build it. So I'll try out like 4 different ascendancies, all different things, and then I'll leave it for a patch. And then the next league, I'll just play this and I'll try all different ways. But the problem is then I end up going back to traps the next league. So I just alternate between traps and dots, traps and dots. But yeah. We didn't touch it at all. The Atlas incursion and
Simulacrum. We haven't talked about Simulacrum either.
Oh,
above
right,
me.
that's all. Okay, it's Simulacrum.
Oh.
It's very
I'm
fun.
surprised we haven't really mentioned the Simulacrum.
I think it's
either.
just because it's only you and Octavian that's done it. So
Yeah.
We talked about builds for like 40 minutes. I don't know.
That's true. Okay. You guys haven't done the Simulacrum yet at all?
I've been saving it now.
No.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. It's pretty ripped on hardcore, so I could imagine that being the case. I think I've done 4 or 5 now. And it's been like a every time I've gotten a little bit further kind of thing, which is pretty cool. I'm surprised it's taken this long for us to get like an arena style combat thing. I think it's really good content for the game. It's super fun. Overall, I think it's fairly rewarding. There's a fair bit of RNG in it. Sometimes you just get shitty rewards, and it's kind of like, I kind of made my money back. You know, for like 60 to 70 chaos on trade for a simulacrum. I'm usually making that back and then a little bit of profit, but it's like I probably would have got more doing maps. But then I have a banger one like my last couple, and it's like really, really good rewards. And I'm like, damn, so much of like I come out of it like with 50 different egos, whatever those things are called. What are
Incubators.
they called again? Incubators.
Oh.
The one. And 50 different eggs.
My tab for them is called eggs as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And like 30 scarabs and stuff. I got like more scarabs from one of those than I've had in like, I don't know, the past 2 leagues as regular drops or something like that. It's like ridiculous amounts of scarabs and stuff like that. And overall, just like tons of stuff. So can be very rewarding. Some people are being like, I hear quite often people are saying that, oh, I get more if I just kind of blast maps. And yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I feel like sometimes this is better depending on RNG. It's certainly pretty fun and interesting content. Mostly I've died. No, what I'm stuck on now is that 20th wave boss spawn. Kosis just seems like so rippy. You have to actually have a fairly tanky build to be able to deal with that, I think, in addition to it having quite a lot of life. I think I got the damage to kill it, like, because I did 1 puncture and took his health down about a third. So I'm like, okay, we can do that damage wise. The problem is he does a teleport thing and just one-shots me through like 5k health and regular molten shells. Unless I have like far molten shell up, he's just like teleport, nothing personal, kid taking me out. It's good content let down by the arenas. I think that's probably the biggest thing I can say is it's a really cool thematic idea to have them in town, and it's super fun, but they're not good places to fight.
No.
What's the best and the worst town for that?
Highgate is the worst one in my opinion.
Is it like noticeably like you're like fuck I got this one when you go in, or
Yeah, any of the narrow corridory sort of ones. The one you're seeing on screen, that wasn't too bad. You can kind of abuse the boat a little bit, but like some of the maps that have like narrow corridor areas, you're in a big trouble when it comes to Kosis putting these like black holes down and stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, you need the mobility, and there's not a lot of room to move around in those. And Kosis is a fight where you kind of need some space to fight him because he's putting down black holes that are like sucking up the screen, and he's teleporting around, and you got to kind of use those dashes, and you can't do max dash ranges in some of the areas. It's not too bad here. You can like run back and forth, but yeah, they're still just in general not good places to fight.
Sarn Encampment is probably my favorite of the arenas, partially because the stairs that lead up to the PvP arena do not spawn monsters. So you can run up those to escape a particularly nasty pack, and they'll chase you up. You only have like a second, but it'll buy you like a second of time, which is sometimes the difference on wave 20.
I'll tell you what's bad in that town though, and it probably depends on your build, but when Kosis teleports up there and fires lasers down at you, you can't get near him because you can't fire up there unless you can see him. So he just off-screens you with lasers. He's trying to get close to him. Like he's got the high ground. It was over. He had the high ground. I couldn't fight against that.
It's weird they would do that after all the backlash they had on the Cirrus fight. Like, we know that their environments team is busy just like making PvE2, but you would think that after they found, okay, maybe not making an arena for a boss and just shoving a boss in a pre-existing place has problems, it's weird they would do the exact same thing the next league.
I think it's a case of a tiny little bit, like they had the cool idea of let's put it in town, and they just barreled through it. You know, they just wanted to do that because it is a cool idea. Like the first time you open Simulacrum and you step in and you're in like Highgate or something, and the guy's like, "Remember this ramshackle place?" It's cool. And then the 5th time when you get teleported to Highgate and he says, "Remember this ramshackle place?" You just want him to shut the hell up because you're gonna have to spend the next however many minutes in here fighting Kosis in a tiny little staircase that doesn't quite act with movement skills right.
You know what would be amazing?
He says the exact...
If it like started in the town and then he teleported us into the PvP arena. They could use that PvP arena for something.
It doesn't get any other use.
I think they want you to forget. No, what PvP arena? I don't know what you're talking about. I got you, Chris. No problem.
Perfect for this
Redemption arc.
Oh, God.
Sorry, Tarke.
But no, because he says the exact same line for every town as well, doesn't he?
He does.
Which is like, that seems like a weird opportunity, because they could have just, if they wanted to do that, they could have just had Lion Eyes Watch, because that's the most iconic town, because it's the first one.
Maybe they
It's
were
also-
meaning to do it elsewhere,
Yeah.
like they were actually designing something, but they just
Didn't have
ran out of time. I
this-
mean,
yeah.
considering how many voice
Mm.
lines there are, it's weird that they couldn't have added like 9 new ones.
Well, you wouldn't
Like,
even need
it's not-
9 because it's just recolors. You'd only need 5, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, sure.
Does it? Wait, can you even fight him in Orith? Or is that too small?
Yeah, I mean, it would be small, yeah.
So is it only
I don't
4
see
I
then?
don't think you get him.
Is there just 4 different places? Octavian's thinking.
I mean,
I've gotten Act 1 town, I've gotten Act 3, I've gotten Act 4, and I've gotten the one that's playing above us, I think is the one that's going on right now. So I've only gotten 4.
yeah,
I've
but
only
that's
ever gotten
Act
4.
5.
That's Act 5, yeah.
No. It's
I've
just not
never
the
gotten Act 2
town
town
map,
yet, but I don't see why Act 2 town wouldn't be used. I think I just haven't rolled it because I've done like 10 of them.
Mm.
Mhm.
Apparently it's every town except Orith.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, but this isn't. Well, it's a town in Act 10.
yeah.
The other thing to mention about the layouts is, and I mean, this is probably fine for there to be some variance, but some of the towns are just directly less rewarding than the others. Like you get less monster spawns, so
Oh, that's
some of them you'll consistently hit like 5.5 tiers roughly, whereas other towns you can only get 4, or like sometimes you're struggling to get 4 depending on it. So it's the rewards seem to matter based on the town, and I think this is based on the fact, like, because I've tested this, where if you hide in an area where monsters can't spawn, you get less monsters. So if I like hide on the boat and just pick away at things, I'll only get like 2 reward tiers. Whereas if I like fight in the middle of the town where everything can spawn, then I'll get 5 reward tiers easily. So I imagine it's like the smaller towns just aren't spawning as many monsters. So a bit of variance is maybe okay. It's just like a bit of luck, I guess. But it's also kind of bummer if you're like, I got the bad town. Now I don't really get much to loot.
You shouldn't be upset about the bad town. You should be happy about the good ones, Ziggy. Like, come on.
That actually reminds
That's
me
not how
about
we work, though, right?
my first experience with Delirium Orbs, because with Delirium Orbed maps, you get the reward for every time it ticks over, and I finished it like 2 packs short, and I was like, oh, that felt awful, and there were 0 monsters remaining, and I was just like, this is not frustrating at all. It does feel, yeah, because now you mentioned that, I guess it's just like a fixed number, whereas it feels like it should scale based on the density of the map itself. I don't know. And also, I guess we have to mention it because people expect me to mention it. It's not even that profitable, but it is very good for SSF, the whole Harbor Bridge thing. It's really weird if it's a visual bug or whatever. The fact that you get like so many rewards, just like ticks in Harbor Bridge compared to maps. So if you do Harbor Bridge post-patch, you'll always get at least 8 rewards for the first. So it's like 8, 5, 3, 1. Like you'll get 4 rows.
Yeah.
And then for most maps, it's kind of like, what, 5, 3, 1? Maybe 6? It feels a bit weird.
5.
No.
I mean, well, it's supposed to be. I guess it's supposed to scale with the content, you know? It's not exactly like you want to be doing other shit than just farming Harbor Bridge, right?
Yeah.
So it's supposed to pair up with that, but since it's kind of new, a lot of people I guess are focusing on just the direct rewards from Harbor Bridge itself.
I mean, it's good for like farming essences and alks and fuses and stuff like that, but I don't think it's that big a deal.
Yeah,
it's just a byproduct, I think, of the fact that like you make this stuff like nice and rewarding for leveling, and people just kind of rush through it all, so they only get like a bit of that, and then you have to kind of like balance it around maps. So I think it's just kind of like a side effect of that. That like
you don't
maps
get any of the
kind of have a
medium-
different rate.
Yeah.
What
don't
about
get any-
like yeah?
Go ahead.
You don't get any of the profitable actual rewards. You don't get any of the.
Yeah.
Do you get delirium orbs at all in there? No, that's only for
I don't
maps,
think
right?
so.
No, you don't get
No,
Delirium
You
Yeah.
get
Orbs.
like very few splinters.
Like no
too.
delirium orbs, no
You don't get
mediums,
delirium
no
orbs, you don't get
smalls. Like,
splinters.
all the good stuff is still in the maps. So
Again,
I mean,
like,
in maps
big deal.
also you can get like a breach, right? That adds up to the count as well, or you can do like an alva.
right.
again, what I'm
Alvas are
saying is,
fun.
it's not that it's rewarding. It just feels weird that you're getting more ticks
Oh,
of
right,
the
right.
reward. Not that you're getting more reward. It just feels weird that because
If you feel more rewarded by doing it just by
The nu-
virtue of
it's-
seeing the bar go up
it's
like
the
crazy.
opposite of what we
I-
were talking earlier with Octavian. Because
Yes,
people
I will
fixate
crusade
on the
against the
number.
bar.
Because you
I
fixate
don't
just
like
on the
the bar.
number. And not what you got during the encounter. So while during Harbor Bridge you may not have gotten anything good, your bar number is so much higher, so it feels like it's more rewarding. Because you're like,
I
dude,
like
I
to
got
watch
like
the
8, 5, 3, 1. I got a 4th reward. So it like because that's just how our brains work. Our brain is like, this must be better because the numbers are so much higher. Whereas if you're getting like a 4 chaos reward, like a 4 currency reward in a white map, will give you more currency than an 8 chaos thingy. And it's just, yeah.
I don't
Bar
like the bar.
petition. Yep.
This is your brain on bars.
Octavian's right. Yeah, but they can't remove it anymore. But
no,
I
they
do
can't,
wonder,
which is
like
why
they.
the solution they've implemented, I think, is a good one. You know, given the context of the situation and how the league was released, and the fact, you know, the backlash that would occur if it were taken away, this is a good solution.
Wait, what is a good solution?
The adding additional bars and the having more variance in terms of rewards within an individual map. It sort of.
So you don't want any bars, but if they're gonna do anything, then
If
it's
they're
be
gonna
more.
do it, then at least make it so it isn't so variable, so you don't have as deep troughs of disappointment. Yes.
I see.
You know, don't half-ass a thing, whole-ass it.
Double down. Okay.
I will
Cool
say
one.
though, Raiz, if you get stuck looking for like a specific unique in SSF, it's one of the fastest ways of getting low uniques, like sub 60.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount you get.
Yeah, the I've been looking for like. I didn't realize how rare the cobalt jewels are until I needed like 5 fevered mines. I got level. I got to like 94 and I didn't get a single one. I'm just like,
Wow.
That's kind of awkward. But then I did Harbor Bridge today for like, I don't know, 3-4 instances. I dropped like 3-4 of them. I'm just like, okay, well, shit. That's hard to avoid in that way. I need Soul Tether too. Been chancing
got-
belts. It hasn't
I got
happened.
that.
Damn it. Yeah, I'm so jelly.
So smug looking. Look at his face.
I love that belt. I've always
Yeah,
loved
really
it, but I
good.
never really like was implementing it
that.
into that many builds. Nowadays, I'm just like every single build. I'm like,
Yeah.
what if I get some energy shield and maybe a little bit of a soul tether?
Yeah.
So good.
Actually, that's the point, just quickly, because this will turn into a massive tangent. I'm just curious, everyone, what is one thing a build has to have in it for you to play it these days? Because I feel like we need more and more. And I feel like
Boss
people like...
killing.
But I don't mean to feel like a boss killing, but kind of like Raiz, will always try and like shoehorn armor into his build. So you'd be like, okay, armor, big VMS. You know, like, is there like a specific item
See,
setup or
nowadays
something?
I'm less so like that.
Oh, okay.
For the longest time it was armor. Now it's sustain, which was the opposite. I was always like, whenever people were like, but you get 10% regen or 5% regen, I'm just like, bitch, just use a fucking life flask. It's not that complicated. Like, you don't need leech. Nowadays I'm like, okay, if this build doesn't have leech, I'm not touching this ever. I've gotten lazy. What can I say?
There's also a lot. I think there's a lot more splash damage around. Like you get hit by things all the time.
Yeah, like small little.
Yeah. Like earlier,
like
you
every
could
pack.
kind of just like run through things and just every now and then you get hit and you just kind of potion up. Nowadays, it's rough.
Yeah, and avoidance layer is what I was gonna say. So
Yeah.
like block or dodge with some evasion. Like I kind of want some of one of those two things in pretty much any build I play, even if it's just like 40% block, like not full investment, but just like more significant than holding a shield.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's the
Like-
biggest
I
thing
like
pushing me
that.
away from summoners nowadays. I think where in the past I would be like, yeah, just use a potion, lol. Nowadays it's like, oh, pudding. I don't. Every pack.
I
it's
feel
gonna
like if there's one thing I have in all my builds and it needs to be there, it's freeze immunity. Big 5 head plays. Yeah, I feel like I like having freeze immunity in my builds.
As a
I
hardcore
like
player, you
having
have
cap
immunity
resistances
to
in mine,
everything.
you know, I really like capped resistances.
I saw a
can't play
really
build
good
without
Reddit
it.
thread. Sorry, it was a guy saying, my build, like, I don't understand why I'm dying. I've got 3.5k life and capped resistances. I was like, oh, you said the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to be sure.
It's good that you had it. Like, good on him. But, you know, when
Better than the
you're,
alternative, yes.
when you're flexing the strength of your, oh, my build's really good. Capped res. Kind of a good build, you know? It's just like...
It's way better than I almost have capped resistances. Then you check their profile, it's like -9. It's like, well, that's not exactly what that means. Capped isn't 0.
It's
what is this?
my car is great. It's got 4 whole wheels on it.
Oh.
Yep. Nice.
Not
I realized yesterday that my champion only had 50% lightning res. I don't know what I've been doing the last couple of days, like running around with like 1 link toxic rain and not caps res. I must have swapped as like my gloves or something. I just never recrafted the res I needed. So
Oof.
I'm clearly
That was
still
a good question. I
adjusting
like it,
after
though.
playing softcore for a year. It's still like, use more than 1 link skills, cap your res. But yeah. The thing I
like
wanted
that
to ask
question.
ages ago before we talk about Simulacrum, though.
No, don't. I want to hear about the stuff that other people want to be necessary in their builds and shit. That was a good question, I thought. Octavian, Noogie, say it.
I already did.
Oh, you go first, Octavian.
No, I already said my thing. You go.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah,
I mean, I think
No,
we're on
I'll
the same
go.
boat now, Raiz. I think you've come around to where I've been all along.
Oh,
Recovery.
yeah?
Recovery is the
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the.
We're getting
you
old.
can't-
I mean, what can you do?
No, but it's like defense. If you can recover your life pool fast and you can build like a big fat juicy. Like if you like, I started really appreciating it when Dan was doing what's it called? What's that bow skill that does 3 elements?
Elemental
hit.
Ellie hit. Yeah.
With the Scion?
Remember when he would always go like Ellie hit with like Slayer Leech?
Yeah, Scion
From
Slayer.
Scion or-
Leech.
yeah.
Mm.
Like ever since then, like recovery has been like, oh, it's OP.
Actually, yeah, that would be a breaking point. When I first played the old Ascendant Slayer Leech,
Mhm.
and I dropped a life potion, an instant life plot, and I just wasn't using it at all because I had like 30% max life leech for 5 seconds, even after I wasn't killing shit. I'm just like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
So I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
So
there you go,
where are we
Tarke.
going now, Tarke?
The Atlas incursion and Valside area improvements, just
Oh,
quickly,
right.
because that was like a big thing they changed.
Dude, it's awesome.
Good. I like it.
I was
All the
hoping
Atlas
for
changes
more.
are so good.
Go
More?
on, Ziggy.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, with the incursions, I thought we were talking about first.
Right.
I was hoping for more with the incursions. I was
Yeah.
really hoping we'd see a bit more like synthesis map style stuff where they like have some interesting things that appear on them. Occasionally you get like the Val vessels drop Varlobs. I haven't really seen much else besides that.
the
It's,
map
like,
one
super
gives
interesting.
you map currency. If you get that level 3, then all the dudes give you map currency.
Wait, what?
Level
Do you
Valside
mean
map?
Valside zones, Ziggy? Because you
Valside
said
zones,
incursions.
Oh, did I say incursions?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, sorry.
Oh,
Go.
I thought we were talking about Valside areas. My bad.
Okay,
Too many
well,
things in this game.
they're pretty good though. What more would you want out of them? Because they're pretty dense.
I was
They're
hoping.
giving.
I was hoping we'd see like more of the like interesting like here's like a rare thing that can appear on it sort of thing. Like synthesis has, where like the rare monsters will drop a fossil or something like that. You know,
Okay, that'd
there's
be
not a
fun.
lot of that going on.
They
was
did.
hoping for that.
I was
They
hoping
did
they're
say
gonna
there was a
juice up
bug.
the bosses more.
Sorry, just quickly. They did say there was a bug that they weren't dropping maps enough. Apparently, they were meant to drop more maps.
Oh,
Yeah, I haven't
never
seen much
dropped
of
a
that.
map.
yeah, they've never given me one.
That's true.
What were you gonna say?
I was
Sorry.
hoping they're gonna
I'm-
juice up the bosses more. The bosses are still kind of pushovers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're weak as.
I was really
still, like-
worried.
Yeah, I was just hoping for a little bit more from that. I feel they're almost worth doing compared to before where they were never worth doing. So
Yeah.
that's a big improvement. Sorry for being confusing about what I was actually talking about earlier.
That's all good.
There's too many things in this game, and they all sound the same. Valside
And they
areas
did
Val
add
temples
incursion
and-
mobs to vol areas, so there's that.
Hmm.
Very
They can
confusing.
be
Like that.
spooky. That's when I'm scared sometimes. Is when I'm like, and then you get all the spooky Val mobs in there. Then it's like,
Hmm.
but it's weird that I'm more afraid of a pack of Val monsters than I am the boss at the end. That does feel kind of lame.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true.
I mean, occasionally you meet the good old shrapnel bearer, and he just blows you up. So there's
No,
that.
I met him in an 84 zone that was pretty juiced. Yeah, he was not too bad, and I had minus 20 chaos res.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe they.
I mean, you need
I
to be a
didn't.
little
I met him
careful.
twice. I
but
didn't
he
see the
didn't.
bombs. so I don't know. I
Hmm.
thought they maybe removed it.
He didn't explode on death for me either. I didn't
No, he
question
didn't.
it.
Yeah,
Did not look
Oh,
a good
maybe-
first in the mouth. Just moved on.
he just like
Maybe they
shoots.
removed it. Hmm.
Someone in
Some
chat has
craziness.
been said this a few times. Apparently, portals don't open on players anymore. Have you guys noticed that?
Oh,
They
you guys don't
opened
know this?
slightly to the right of me.
Oh,
They open randomly
kept
around my characters.
I
Yeah.
kept misclicking because I'm so used to like tuk, and
Yep.
now I'm like missing.
I didn't realize for the first couple days, and then Embu
that's
mentioned it in
why.
the chat, and I was just like, "What the
Oh
fuck? Like, why does my
God.
fucking game feel so clunky?" And then it clicked. It was like
Oh.
this thing was
I didn't even
completely
realize.
throwing me off. Yeah, it's pretty bad because you always want to use the small portal when like trying to race, but then now I use the bigger ones.
Oh,
So I can
no.
click easier. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Now that you guys have noticed, it's extra bad.
I think no. So that's true of all portals, not just portals at your feet, right? So like the portals on your map device, they have it as well, or is it just when
No,
you
I
drop a
don't-
portal?
No, only when I've
I
opened
don't think
maps,
so.
opened
Okay.
other maps and stuff.
I mean, it's just so natural. You don't even you like take it for granted that you just like open a portal and you immediately hover over exactly where your character is. But
I'm
that
gonna
shit doesn't
notice
work
this on like the
anymore.
next map I do. It's gonna trigger the hell out of me now.
Oh, it ruined me.
Oh
it was
no.
really bad. When it clicked in, I was just like,
It's still
ugh. And then I
recovering.
was like, oh, it spawned to the right, and then the next map it spawned to the left, and I'm just like, what?
Like
Oh.
randomized.
Happening all along?
Portal roulette spawns around you like map devices.
I mean, that's
So
what we
what's
wanted,
the-
right? We
what's
said
the
we wanted
reason for
random
it?
portals, so they were like, okay, random portals. This is what you do.
Everyone's random portals.
Then he
my.
fucked something up. I mean, it must have just been that.
I want it back. Oh, portal's back.
Yeah, I can't believe it would be intentional.
Speaking of random
Yeah.
things, they'll probably fix it, but I'd like to think they can't. You know how Oak doesn't have any textures? I
Yeah.
don't know why, for some reason, I want an intern to have accidentally deleted all instance of his textures. And there's just someone just like, we've lost it. Like, we can't ever bring it back. It's gone. Because there's been like 3 patches where he hasn't had any textures. And he didn't have any textures when it was being... It's just like, why does it have any textures? It seems like an easy fix, you know?
I stole them for my snipe. I have too many textures for my sniper ability. I sucked up all these textures.
Nice. A really good change that they didn't mention was the Stygian Revenants. They have like a much more
Oh, yeah, the-
visible animation now. Actually, pretty freaking good. I can't believe they talked about incursion and how much different it's going to be to such extent, but they didn't mention this. When to me, the Revenants is a big change, while the Temple is kind of. It doesn't feel too impactful for me. I don't know. It feels the same way. I mean, the
Temple?
mods are different, but it runs the same way as it did before for me. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I feel like the temple's quite a bit better. It's a pretty big step up. I've been like getting the ghosted rooms where it's like ghosting all the bosses there and the
Yeah.
poison things are
Oh,
like
that one's
spawning a
cool,
bunch
yeah.
of extra stuff. And it's like
Mm.
I was like, I should make a pretty appreciable difference. So before I'd actually stopped running the temples pretty much. Like I'd gotten sick of running the temples unless there was something big there, like tier 3 corruption or whatever.
Hmm.
I'd basically just been like, I'm not doing this anymore. It feels like such a waste of time. But because like the one thing that was kind of keeping me doing it was like we needed the maps back in the day, but that's not really
Yeah.
a thing anymore. But now I actually like I'm not so against it. I don't hate running it, so it's a step up.
Mm.
I think even like
Mention-
if
okay,
for running the maps, I get disappointed every time because the map rooms like the way, I don't know why, but they keep spawning they keep spawning the natural maps, and
Yeah.
it's so
Mhm.
rare to like have them actually drop the high maps that it used to do. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I
they
feel like
broke
I'm
something.
getting robbed every time.
It's like a
I had
corrupted tier
4
4 and tier 5.
Kados. I had 4 Kados in there, and like 3 of them gave me 2 map drops where I have 1 additional, meaning that the card will drop 1 map. I'm like,
Mm.
1 map? I don't know.
Yep.
That was weird.
It's like always like a Vol Academy tier 3 map.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't really.
Hmm.
I really that is something I would like to see improved. So when you actually get the map drops, you feel like at least one thing. I don't know. I think I don't think they drop enough items still. I felt like they don't drop enough of the items.
I didn't see any of the items.
Incursion items. I would like to see, like, I would like to have the boss actually drop them more.
Mm.
That'd be
I've
cool.
always wanted the boss to be a lot better for
Yeah.
Temple. Like I thought the
Oh,
original design
even
of it
even the
was supposed
mini
to be-
bosses, like both the mini bosses and the actual boss.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
the
I
actual
always
boss
thought the
drops
rooms were supposed to add a
me.
bunch to him, but nothing.
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah.
I got like 3
Bummer.
items out of him. Kind of
Still bummed
sucked.
out about that.
Yeah.
I still get more incursion. That was actually the one. So when I did my harbor thing, I did it for 1 hour on stream just to see how rewarding it was. And that's how
Sure.
I got my minus mana cost rings for my toxic ring character from that. And I got 2 really good rings from it. I'm like, oh, nice. But it sucks that it's like, I hate how the best way you get the items isn't from the mechanic itself.
Yeah.
I would like
It's something-
you do run the incursion, like, yes, I got the really rare, the rings and the percent life chests, and like all of that stuff I keep getting outside of incursion. That just feels bad.
It's
I feel like it's time to remove all this incursion stuff from maybe some of the random drops and just actually put them in incursion and make the incursion better.
I think the first dev episode I was on, I don't remember which one that was. It was something that we talked with them about. And I think their response was that it's just like, so the dilution of the value and the dilution of these things like temple items or league specific uniques. I think it was in the context of league specific uniques specifically. It was after like Blight or something. And they said that it's just like an easy way to add that extra little bit of kick of reward to a league mechanic to make it feel more like it's worth doing without unbalancing it in terms of map returns or in terms of currency and those other things that are way more core to the like balance of the economy of the game. And yeah, I think we honestly, in my personal opinion, I think we've reached that tipping point a while ago. Like there's it's oversaturated with all these different like it doesn't feel rewarding anymore.
I wanted to ask if any of you guys have messed around with the preferred map system much, because I haven't really interacted with it and I know that people aren't happy with it.
I have.
Wait, people aren't happy?
Okay, so I feel like the only way you can really make it impactful is if you go down all the way down to only one section of the map and then have one map preferred. Because the thing is, the more sections you have fully explored or like fully watchstone, the more you dilute the entire pool. So sure, it's gonna prefer that map, but the more regions, there's just too many maps still, and it's not giving you enough of a preference. Like I was trying to run it in a race and it just never really kicked.
Wait, what? That's crazy.
So you wouldn't be able to, like, it wouldn't be a middle ground that you'd be happy with to have like each region you have a map that you prefer. And so you're getting this pool of, how many regions are there? 8?
There's 8.
Yeah, 4 inner, 4 outer. So you have this pool of like 8 maps that are all much more likely to drop than any others. And so you're bouncing back between those 8 maps, because that to me sounds honestly more fun than having one that I'm only ever running.
Right. I feel like they could push it just slightly more, especially if you want to run more regions. I'm not entirely sure what the best system is, but you kind of get punished from unlocking more regions while running the preferred system, which I don't like.
Well, how? You can just always remove them unless you're trying to run Awakener levels.
No. When you add in the stones, you also open up more maps of of that tier. And if you're trying to get that one tier, then now you're diluting that your own pool.
Yeah, but then why don't you just remove the stones after you've done the completions? If you don't want to drop them, you can just remove the stones, and then those maps are never going to drop, and they're not going to dilute it.
Yeah. It just feels, I don't know. The thing is, like, let's say I want my 14 over here, my 15 over there, my 16, but then you have 3 different zones, and it's like you're kind of forced into one area. But then if the preferred system, right, you kind of want to have all 3 on one. Sure, you can maybe do like 2-1 or 1-1. I don't know. I guess. But then you force yourself into one zone still. You can't really.
How so?
Because the more zones you unlock.
Yeah, but that's like the cool part of the system, that you kind of have to like pick out the zones and then prioritize the zones over the other stuff. I'm not. Sorry.
Yes, but it's still underwhelming. I think once you have like 3 zones, it really feel like you don't feel like you're really preferring that much. I mean, it helps, but I don't think it's perfect.
Basically,
I mean,
what
don't get me wrong. Like you could make it so that like 100% of the time you could drop like the exact map that you want, and you can
No, I don't really
still
want
do
that.
I don't think it's
You can do that right now though. Like if you don't like the preferred system, you can still do that. So I'm not
Yeah,
exactly.
but I
looking
don't want that system at all. I would much rather like the preferred system is good. I'm just from experience, from having just run it, I wasn't. It's not as preferred as I would maybe had hoped for. If that makes sense. And especially I felt punished whenever I started unlocking more regions. Because like there's preferred on all the regions, right? So I mean,
Yeah, but it's a preference for the region itself. So unless you don't add a map to the other preferred regions that you now opened up, you're not missing out on anything. The only issue that I can see with that, honestly, is the Awakener levels. Like if you want to run high Awakener levels, then you have to pick out multiple preferred maps of the same tier. Because you don't have a choice because you have to have the watchstones in.
yeah.
Which sucks in that way. But then yeah, if you're just looking to run a preferred map, you can always take out the watchstones, and that's been working pretty well for me. Or even just ping-ponging watchstones around depending on the tiers that I want to run, right? Because if you want to run tier 12 and up maps, you're going to take out watchstones anyway, because removing watchstones and not being able to drop lower maps increases the probability of you actually dropping the tiers that you do want. So no matter what, you're going to be ping-ponging in that way. When you're running your highest maps or higher maps, you're going to be removing the lower ones. So with this system, you can't really get rid of it, I don't think. Which does hurt your Awakener levels, which is kind of lame, but yeah, I don't know. It worked pretty well for me. I guess we have different feedback.
I feel this is one of those things where it would be really helpful if JGG just said exactly how it worked and whether it was like actually working on things and what things it worked on, because there's been so many people saying that I've done a sample size of 200, it literally has no impact, and then other people saying, but it only works from regular drops and not from bosses or chests, and other people saying it only works from the boss map drops and stuff like that. So it's like, who actually knows how this is working?
I mean, it's literally exactly just preferred maps. So if you have 10 maps opened of a certain tier, of like a tier 15, and you have your map added on like one preference, then yeah, if you drop
What
11,
does preference mean? Like a 1% or?
Well, they gave numbers
10.
in one of the posts
Like
before the
10.
release. Yeah,
It's
it was
10.
It was
Oh, I missed that.
It's additive.
10 times weighting per preference point, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, which you can get up to 30, which means that if you drop 11 maps, 10 of those maps are going to be the maps that you're looking to get.
Okay.
That you have preferred.
pretty
And
good.
if you drop
That was the numbers that they said before release when they were talking over the plan on a Reddit post. I don't think they've ever said anything about changing it. We have no real reason to believe they have, but that is the last source that we have. You know, I think it was
saying that it ignores boss drops. I haven't had that experience, but it's possible. I mean, that obviously would be something unintentional, though.
People may have that impression because I believe that there is a chance, if you have a high enough awakening level, for additional chance for the boss to drop an adjacent map, and that may fix it to be an adjacent map and not go through the preferred system, because that's always going to be an adjacent map. Like that's what the percent chance is giving you.
Makes sense.
It's not percent chance to drop an additional map. It's percent chance to drop an additional adjacent map, from which there's a very limited pool. So that might be why people have that impression that boss drops aren't being affected, because sometimes they aren't if it's from your Awakener level that's occurring.
That would make sense, because again, I was looking to run as low Awakener level as possible.
Yeah.
So, because no matter what, you have to, like, you're never going to run into the issue of like dropping in actually, because regions can connect, so that can be extra bad. Because if you have a preferred map in a region and that region connects to another region and that map is uncompleted,
Well, I think
that is adjacent, then you're fucked, because
I think that's kind of a false way of looking at it, though, because it's rolling on its own specific table of chance to drop an adjacent map. If you don't have that chance, then it's never going to drop that map anyway. And if you do have it, it will only ever be an adjacent one. So this is not a thing you can ever manipulate into giving you the map that you want. It's just a bonus extra thing that's tacked on top. Like you have no control over changing this particular chance to drop the adjacent map into giving you what you want. So it's not bad to have it, and it's not like bad not to have it. It's irrelevant to the preference system entirely.
Wait, how is it irrelevant? I don't get.
Like if it says specifically that it's going to drop an adjacent map, then
Oh, you're talking about the Awakener level.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I
Like,
was talking about
it-
like the difference in the regions, because you select the preferred
Okay.
map for the region.
I may have
And
misunderstood you then.
if the adjacent map is in another region, then you might not necessarily have that map completed, therefore a higher probability of dropping it, which fucks you over. But yeah, we're talking about two different things. But I do
Alright.
completely agree. The Awakener level adjacent thing is, yeah, that's stupid. That's completely ridiculous. Especially if it doesn't actually drop, like doesn't have the preferred system for the boss drops. But I mean, it should. I can't see how it wouldn't.
Well,
it's just, I guess.
It's like a different stat in a way from map drop chance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I can
It's
see that.
categorized
Sure.
differently.
I always love when Atlas discussions happen because it just turns into a thing of chat going question mark, question mark, question mark. I get the maps, I run them. But yeah. Did anyone else have anything they want to talk about in particular? Otherwise, I feel like we would end up just talking about adjacent maps for like an hour and a half.
I don't know. I feel like talking about adjacent maps, to be honest. I want to hear more about this.
Oh, go on, Ziggy, go on. Let's talk more about adjacent maps.
No, I'm
I
done.
could
I'm
call
done.
Carve. We could get him on, and then we could all just like
Did
sit
they
and
actually?
listen to
Did
him
they
for a minute.
say specifically what they're like trying to accomplish with this system of like preferred maps? Because
I think that might be, you know, when it's
Just-
like
I imagine.
expectations might differ, you know?
I imagine they're trying to make sure that people don't have their maps atlases uncompleted and
Yes.
Yeah.
only run one map and still have a little bit of variety and engage with the mechanics that they've designed instead of trying to break the mechanics they've designed, I guess, in this case. That would be the goal, I imagine.
to give people specific maps because people complained. Yeah, but like you can give yourself, well, not quite, because right now you can drop specific maps from a specific tier, but it can't be from like every map. Like you can't just choose any random map. It
Yeah,
has
there's
to be
certain
a
ones that
map
fit
in a
the bill.
specific region. So the preferred system, I guess, was supposed to be like a stronger variant of that, but then yeah, it doesn't punish you if you complete maps. It only punishes you if you run Awakener levels. Yeah. I'm done now.
Unless.
I just realized this, and this is only relevant for people on Discord. You can't see this, chap. So you can see my cat sleeping right in the corner of the bed there. Isn't that nice? Oh.
No.
All chat.
Yeah. Sorry, chat. You can't
You
see
can
that.
move the camera so the chat can see like
no,
what.
no,
Okay.
no. They don't
No.
deserve it.
There was no cat chat. He's
yeah.
lying.
That's fine. So yeah, is that us? Is that us done today then? Anything else you'd like to chat about, or we just
I think we covered everything. I mean, what's there to talk?
Bar's bad.
Bar's bad.
Okay, just to finish
Octavian
then.
doesn't like the bars.
Thumbs up or thumbs down league mechanic? Noogie.
Yeah.
Raiz?
I can't give you a
Fucking-
clear.
Omega yikes, dude. No.
Oh, damn. That's-
I have not disliked
I
any league since Talisman. I fucking hate this league mechanic.
Okay.
I love the league. League mechanic?
Ziggy?
You were talking about like Delirium.
Yeah.
Specifically, yeah.
Just
Orbs in the Simulacrum, probably a thumbs up. And then we're probably like a 45-degree thumb for like the regular encounters.
Octavian?
That's like, it's fun.
Oh
Same
shit,
here.
but you can't do that.
Yeah, I
Damn
can.
it.
I just did.
No, you can't do that.
Stop
That's-
him.
But I did.
That's illegal. See, but I don't know about the other stuff. Encounters and maps, then Okay, there you go. I don't know about anything else. Maybe it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm with Ziggy on that one. Simulacrum's been really addicting. It's a lot of fun, and org maps are something I want to get more into. But yeah, you could kind of take or leave the mechanic in maps itself. I don't know.
I haven't done Simulacrum, and now that we're doing the sort of judge system, I don't know where my thumb should be. So I'm gonna say I think it's mostly up. I liked it. I liked it more before they nerfed it. Since they nerfed it, I like the league less. But when at the start of league, I'm like yes. Now I'm kind of like no.
You're insane.
Thumbs 45 degree
I had
angled,
I had the
37
same thing with
degrees.
Syndicate. I like being afraid of every zone I go into. Pre-nerf Syndicate,
Same.
I loved way more than when they started nerfing it.
Yeah.
Like Raiz, we always talk about how like Invasion was one of the best leagues ever because at some point you're like, oh, I'm gonna die. And before they nerfed it, I was constantly like, I don't want to rip, I don't want to rip, I don't want to rip, I don't want to rip. And I was so glad that I'd swapped from softcore to hardcore for it. I was like, this is great. I'm in constant fear. Now, I die because I'm not paying attention and I put my character in a bad situation rather than you die to hard content. I hate it when you die because you
100%
zone out.
Trash league.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why you did a thumbs up. You just proved my point.
Okay. Well, I'd like to
I
thank
really like
everyone
it as-
from coming on. We're going to end on that very depressing note. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I feel like we've gotten our complaining out throughout the week, and now it's.
I
better.
like it aesthetically.
Aesthetically, it's
That's a lot.
awesome. I love
Aesthetically-
this. Yeah, I love the aesthetic. I love the
Yes.
flavor. I love the lore.
I like a lot of the ideas would have like adding extra layers. I think they had a lot of good ideas, good intentions. I think execution is a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
Simulacrum though, and the orbs, good. Clusters.
How
good.
deep? How deep do you guys think an average hardcore build is going to make it into Simulacrum?
What is?
Average hardcore build wave like
What is the average?
Oh,
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
a build that can handle T16s in hardcore,
Yeah,
like
like-
comfortably, can
yeah,
probably
like
make it to wave
reasonably.
18 comfortably.
You're gonna get spooked at wave
18.
18 and leave.
Yeah,
You're
17,
gonna
18.
get spooked at 18. Yeah.
Like that's a tough T16. It's like 17, 18.
It'll
Oh.
work out then, depending on mods. So you get some really nasty mods where it's like
Yeah.
added chaos penetration, all
Enemies-
resistance counter penetration, enemies impale.
Enemies inflict brittle. Enemies inflict sap.
Yeah, brittle. Fuck.
Damn.
You'll know about somewhere around one of those.
Crit
waves, I
reduction.
think.
Crit reduction is probably pretty big because you do get a lot of crit mods and enemies inflict brittle pretty often. And also
Right.
enemies can inflict random curses, which could hit with Assassin's Mark.
Huh.
Interesting, good.
But Warding Flask is easy to deal with that, at least.
Interesting. This is going to
In
be like
terms of
10.
like difficulty tier, is it like Uber Elder hard at the end?
Not in
Or-
the same way. I think the
very
more
different.
comparable, I think the better comparison point is probably Delph. Because it's
okay.
much more like Delph
Right,
in, the
okay.
in the way the difficulty works. Like it's swarms of difficult monsters,
Right.
not a choreographed fight.
Yeah,
And so like wave 20, I would compare to how difficult delving at 5 to 600 was in hardcore.
right. Okay.
So it's
They
difficult.
need a really strong character.
Yeah.
Doable.
That's fucking
Nice.
hard. What?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I've pushed that. Like that's the level of survivability I would want. Like a max block divine
Yeah.
flesh gladiator is what I use to push
What
that.
the fuck?
I would
That's not
want
an average build. That's
I
fucking
like I
hard.
said, wave 20 isn't average. I said 17, maybe 18. The last few waves ramp up hard. You know,
Yeah,
the
that's
difference
a
between
big
Good.
difference.
the difference between like I don't know, 10 and 13 is a lot less than the difference between 17 and 20.
Yes.
Damn.
I mean, to be clear, I've only seen wave 20 because I have 6 portals available to me that involved 5 deaths up to that point. Somewhere in like wave 7, 18, 18, 19.
Since
around
the
those
boss
waves,
health
those last
cuts
few
though.
waves.
Since the boss health cuts, it's
It's doable.
a lot easier to deal with them at least. But like the survivability problems don't come as much from the bosses as they do from the swarms of monsters. And in a hardcore setting, you're unlikely to have the damage to be one-shotting those monsters because you need to invest in survivability a good amount more. So you're probably going to have like maybe 2 to 3 million DPS, in a rather nice build with good end game survivability. That's not going to be enough to deal with the rare monsters more quickly than they'll be spawning, and so you're going to have to survive being able to being swarmed by them.
So what you're saying
Nice.
is, if Raiz can get Divine Flesh on his Ignite Armageddon brand character, he'll be okay. He just needs the Divine Flesh, right? That's it. Otherwise, he's fine.
You need good fizz mitigation too. Divine Flesh
So a
doesn't enable it.
Basalt Flask? Yeah, Raiz. Okay, Basalt Flask, Divine Flesh, Armageddon brand. Let's go.
Nah, I can just make it way better with a quartz flask, dude. If you don't get hit, then
don't
you
get
don't
hit,
die.
mate. Easy.
There you go, dude. 200 IQ. Way better defense.
And don't stand near the big orbs that Kosis makes.
Or
'Cause he
stand
blows
near
them up.
walls. If you stand near a wall, you get AoE.
Don't get hit by Kosis.
Don't stand next to mobs. Don't stand next to walls. Don't stand next to the boss.
Don't be
I-
in there.
Yeah, if you
Don't
stand in your
stick
hideout,
some
you'll be
in
fine.
you. Just
I'm
build
just-
defense.
I'm just fucking with you guys. I'm never gonna get 300 splinters. Are you fucking kidding me? 300?
All that said, I do think it's very doable and in fact farmable in hardcore. Like I
Yeah.
think it's a challenge you can definitely overcome because people push like Delve 1000 in hardcore. Like that's much harder than Simulacrum 20. Like it's certainly doable, but it's not gonna be
Used to
easy.
push Delve 1000. Now all those builds are trash. So I don't know.
The people could probably still make it there. People made it there last
Yeah,
league.
people can make it there.
Yeah.
Well, last league it was still juiced up. Well,
Which
it was
one is
after
that?
the nerfs, but it was playable. But it was mostly with like zombie, Joffrey, strength
Or
stack and
Spectre stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Now it's like demolished pretty much. So
I'm certain there's a build out
Yeah,
there
it's
that
not
can
like
do
we
it.
can make any good builds with the new cluster jewels.
I'm-
They kind of suck.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like after I ripped, I took the Gladiator down to a depth of 1,000 and did a few runs, and I managed to survive them. I don't know if I could have consistently gotten there. Evidently, I didn't.
Hmm.
But if I had played better, been more cautious about the mods, I think there's builds that can do it.
Could you rip a Simulacrum to standard to test it on your Glad character? You can open the Simulacrums in standard. if
I
you
mean,
want
I'd
them,
have
right?
to. Yeah, I'd have to go on hardcore and earn a Simulacrum. I'm playing on softcore at the moment.
Oh,
but
easy.
yeah,
that's approximately 2
probably
weeks of
buy
picking
one
up
on Steam.
splinters.
No, I've got like
not
four.
that
I've got
bad.
like 470 or some shit.
You get
You
like
wanna
60
rip one for
splinters
me?
on that now.
They drop quite a lot. The
Yeah, like,
splinters.
you can get
They
something
really
now.
do. Yeah.
My 80% map was a tier 12. I got like 60 splinters in.
I took
Yep.
GGG's advice to heart, dude. My filter shows nothing but portal scrolls, okay? You know how many times clicking 300 is? It's many clicks, all right? It's at least like 100 maps.
It is a
per
lot of
month.
clicks. I agree with you on that.
I
Mm,
can't afford to do that.
too many clicks.
I have been warming up to this league though. I have been picking up splinters. I've never picked up splinters ever, and then last league I started picking up
no.
splinters. So
Wait,
I'm
what
like,
splinters?
all of them. Well,
Just all of them?
a
That's
breach
crazy.
splinters I only pick up Zoff because
Okay.
everything else. Yeah. And besides, you don't. Why pick up 100 of them when you can just pick up one? You know, just do a metamorph or like
Yeah.
delirium.
I mean, in this league, it just drops the entire breach stone.
Yeah.
Just get
Here you
shit
go.
breach zones.
Crazy.
Way more tactical.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I got a Chayula breach stone within the first 8 hours.
I got a Chayla breach
Wow.
day too.
That's pretty hilarious.
Was
Yeah.
it the normal one or was it the juiced up one?
normal one for me.
That's the normal one.
Oh.
If it would have been
Still,
juiced up, I
that's
still had to
pretty.
do it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Within 8 hours.
Yeah. But you're never gonna find the actual amulet for the stun immunity.
I actually haven't found one.
I've
You're
got
right.
one.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
they're rare
You
as
cursed him,
fuck,
right?
dude.
I've got one.
They do not happen. It's
Shit.
not.
Oh no.
I'm
I
not
don't actually have
joking.
one.
Ambu last league was looking for it for like 2 months. He was just losing his
Wow.
mind. He had like multiple blessings and everything. He just couldn't get the freaking amulet.
You know what you need to do,
Shit.
Niggy? Just go to Harbour Bridge, farm some shit low level units.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I
easy.
mean, it can't be that
Yes.
hard.
Is there an eye level restriction on it?
I think so.
I can't remember.
I don't know.
It's an Onyx. I think it's like level 20. But yeah, they're kind of rare. Wait, is it Presence of Chirula? That's the other one, right? That's the juiced up one.
Yeah.
That's the juiced up one. I have choked.
Yeah,
I believe
actually-
that's so.
Chirula. Is there no easy way to click it? I bet there is. Oh, there.
I'd
It
just
is
like to
level
point
20.
out,
Yeah.
I ran like 8 simulacrums during this podcast. Not bad,
Nice.
pretty efficient, if you ask me.
I mean, you were pretty good at talking at the same time, yeah.
You know how
I'm
many you
good at
picked up?
multitasking.
1/10 of it. So
Okay, I
gonna
think we
go
should
for
actually end it now. So yeah.
sure.
Cut it.
You have a good one.
Yeah. Thanks for the podcast. Sorry about the
Thanks, guys.
complaining.
We complained way less than I
had
thought we
fun.
would. I
It
thought
was
you were going to
barely
complain a lot
complaint
more.
fast.
Yeah,
Hmm.
The league is not as bad as.
as we made it out to be.
Yeah.
It's fucking trash. What? All right, I'm gonna go. Bye.
Oh. Hey,
See you,
Octavian.
Tarke.
Oh, fine. Bye, Octavian.
No,
no,
you wanna
no,
hang
it's
out? We can
fine.
chat.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
No, it's fine.
Everybody else was going. I didn't
Leave
wanna
me
overstep.
like everyone else did.
Okay, just
Alright.
like I did you privately. See you, buddy.
Just like
Oh,
Hey,
did they
Raiz.
finally leave?
yeah, they left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was waiting for everybody to leave.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, it's just you?
Yeah,
I was
just
looking
me.
for Ziggy.
Oh.
Fuck.